OTB AM.
Brought to you by Avantcard Reward Plus Credit Card. Powered by MasterCard. Straight up better than your current credit card. Avantcard DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
All right, you're very welcome along to OTB AM this Wednesday morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And all the way back from the Galway races, our Zorb champion, the Zorb King. It's Owen Sheehan. How are you?
Thank you very much.
Feeling triumphant?
Correct title and all. Feeling very triumphant this morning.
Have you ever Zorb, Stephen Kelly?
I have once, yes.
Oh, have you?
Yeah,
Right. Properly? Did you do it down the hill, strapped in kind of thing?
No, I did it on a lake. It was Zorbing on water. It was
Right.
actually, yeah, it was good fun.
Now, it's just because there's a little hole in the Zorbs.
This one was like kind of, it
was
zipped in at the
steady.
side,
Okay.
steady, yeah. It was good fun.
Yeah.
Any good?
Okay. Like, you just feel like a hamster ball, don't you, run around? It's weird.
Basically.
He's the perfect size.
Right.
For it,
Yeah,
he fits the Zorb like a glove.
I couldn't, when I was standing and trying to bend down, so I was trying to bend over and run at the same time, which wasn't easy, but it was enjoyable.
Owen had a great come from behind victory against two proper athletes yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah, we're gonna have to get you into the Zorbing fold on land,
Oh, okay,
Stephen,
yeah.
if you fancy it.
I will, yeah, Zorbing competition. Maybe
Just to become the undisputed champion of it, because I'm on a high after yesterday. I'm willing to take on anybody who wants to come at me in the Zorb world. But it was uphill at the Galway races yesterday in front of a baying crowd.
The finish of the Galway, so we were on the racetrack, and we were initially told it was going to be like a 50-metre thing, and they kept us walking back, and it ended up being about 100 metres.
Did it?
Yeah, which was too much for me and John Duggan anyway. I was looking back at the video. Aidan O'Mahony streaks into a lead, is like killing everybody, and then just kind of falls over.
Yeah, if you fall over in it, you're screwed.
No, you're
It's
screwed,
tough to get back up.
You can't get back up, yeah.
Yeah, so I fell once, but it was right at the finishing line, so I managed to stumble over the finish line and claim victory. A weird moment, but also the proudest moment of my entire life.
Proudest sporting moment?
Not just sporting moment.
Oh, okay.
It was literally on the big screens at the Galway races.
Well,
yeah.
oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so there were actual human beings watching this as opposed to...
Could you bet on it? That's the
I
thing.
think you could actually.
Where the bookies taking bets?
I think. Were you 10-1?
Well, that was a good price. About right.
Or
that was a bad price. It should have been 100-1.
I'm not sure whether you've got an each way price on that. I'm not sure. We were printed in the programme, and there was talk of doing actual bets on it as well. So hopefully people want a bit of money on me, because I did tip myself beforehand.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like that's one advantage that horses don't have. They actually can't speak.
They can't speak.
They can't tell you how good form you're in. Whereas yesterday I was like, no, I'm going to win this.
The trainers do enough to diminish their chances, don't they, as well, to try and get good odds?
Oh, yeah. Owen had definitely been lying low.
Lying low, yeah.
Throwing the triathlon, for example, that was all part of his ruse. We did have another winner tipped by Ruby Walsh yesterday. He tipped a 9-1 winner to go with his 26-1 winner on day one. So we'll have more from Ruby a little bit later on. Ruby versus Punter is our series. It's ongoing with Paddy Power. We'll tell you full details on that a little bit later on as well. We'll go to John Duggan in Galway in just a minute right now. He's there right now. John Duggan, good morning to you. How you doing?
Jared, Stephen and Owen, how are we all going on?
Yeah, pretty good. Aidan McGuinness's winner yesterday, as tipped by Ruby, was one of the highlights of the day for sure.
Well, Colin Keane was pretty much a cool customer in that race. He got Saltonstall out wide and came with quite a comfortable run in the end to win. So the horse disappointed last year, but Ada, when I spoke to him afterwards, said that he thought the horse had a bit of a problem, but he was overjoyed, Ada. Of course, we saw Ada recently. He was helping us with that Aussie Valentine. We had the horse for the day. With Off the Ball on horse racing in Ireland. So I was just thrilled for Ado, who works hard. They've got a great team up there in Lusk in North Dublin to win a pot of 70 grand. I think one of the Dooleys and the O'Sullivans are the syndicate, and I think Bart O'Sullivan is like one of the sponsors of the yard. So just for the syndicate to have that great win, they've obviously a long-term plan in place, and Ruby Walsh knew what he was doing yesterday when he gave that winner. That is just incredible. 25-1 on Monday and at 8 or 9-1 yesterday. Ruby Walsh in that preview that we did. So I haven't recovered from the Zorb yet, but we're trying to keep it together here.
Yeah, how are you feeling? How's the neck and body generally?
Yeah, it's creaking a bit. I was dizzy for quite a while actually. I had to sit down and have a drink a lot of Coke after the Zorb challenge, which I've now endured my public shame for the year and probably the decade. But it was all for Irish Inter Jockeys and for charity. Yeah, so we'll look ahead to the Galway Plate in about an hour's time. We had one winner in the blog yesterday, 9-1 shot. Unfortunately, Jerry, I gave you the wrong one because you had a double going on with Saltonstall. You're probably counting your holiday for Florida. But look, that's the way it goes in Galway. There was about 14,500 people here yesterday evening, but there'll be a lot more here today for the Galway Plate. That goes to post at 7:20. So I think the big winner yesterday was Colin Keane. two great winners. He's now leading the jockey standings. And also a good, interesting comment from Donnacha O'Brien, who rode that Petite Mystique to win that fillies race. I think Hermosa won it last year, and she ended up winning the Classic, and he was pretty sweet on her afterwards. So she's definitely one for the notebook. Petite Mystique went out to 3-1 in the betting for Aidan O'Brien. But what we're seeing now at Galway is Aidan O'Brien, Dermot Well, these types of trainers bringing better class horses to Galway, and they'll be like seen again next year in the Classic season.
Yeah, so who else had a big day yesterday? Because obviously the previous day, Joseph O'Brien had a winner and a bunch of seconds. Who else was doing well yesterday?
Well, Emmet Mullins had another winner. He had that Beginner's Chase winner, so he's had a second 2 days in a row. He's had the winner for the same ownership in Me. That was with 0-10. Looking down through it, Willie Mullins had the opening winner, Paul Town and Fast Book. Good to see Matthew J. Smith, kind of a smaller trainer, win with One Cool Poet. And then the last race, that favourite, the Beckwith Place, was backed into 2-1 and was just pipped. Like, it came from last to second, but Naked Challenge at 10-1 beat it with Dennis Hogan training that. So a kind of a mixed bag for the punters, like some favourites going in, some outsiders, but nothing really that big. I think the biggest price winner yesterday was 10-1, but the Galway Place is 22 runners, 14 fences, bit of a minefield for punters. Gordon Elliott's got a lot in it, and it'll be one to work out, and hopefully we can get the winner of it.
Yeah, good stuff, John. We'll get your tips a little bit later on. Thanks for that.
Guys.
More from John
Cheers.
Duggan a little bit later on here on OTBM. Here's what's coming up on the show. We've obviously got Stephen Kelly with us. We're going to talk a good bit about football and transfers. We've 10 key questions for Manchester United coming your way at in about 15 minutes' time after the newspapers. And then Deal or No Deal, we'll go through the rest of the transfer stories, including what's going on with Mauricio Pochettino and his desire to no longer be called the manager at Spurs. I mean, does he really want that, or is he just saying that so that something might actually happen? Who knows? Who knows what the internal politics are at Spurs? And then we'll talk about some of Stephen's international colleagues who are currently cutting their teeth as coaches. There's a bunch of the Ireland team from the Trapattoni era who are now coaching at one level or another. And then Ruby versus Punter coming your way around about 8:30 this morning. And we'll also head down to New Zealand, where a little bit of pressure is starting to constrict the free-flowing rugby that we've come to expect from the All Blacks. And then we've got the latest on the George Gibney case with Irvin Muchnick coming your way at 9:15. You can tweet us this morning, #OTBAM.
Join Off the Ball in Abu Dhabi this November 17th to 23rd for the inaugural Off the Ball Open. With flights from Dublin, 5 nights in a 4-star hotel, golf on 2 championship courses, gala awards dinner, Peter Lorry golf clinic, and a live Off the Ball roadshow. You can also hang out with some special guests, including Kevin Kilban and Kieran Donaghy. The inaugural Off the Ball Open. Book now at CassidyTravel.ie and check out offtheball.com.
Yeah, check out offtheball.com for more details of that if you want to come along with us to Abu Dhabi. Get on to Cassidy Travel and pay your deposit. Okay, so the newspapers this morning, back of the Irish Sun, don't look Baku in anger. Vinnie Perth told Dundalk's players in January to dream big. Now he expects them to live large in July. Obviously that game kicks off tonight at 6 o'clock. Wezzo jets to Oz. Wes Hoolahan is set to move down under to join A-League side Newcastle Jets. The former Ireland playmaker was training with Cambridge United in England and then obviously got a slightly better offer. I mean, Australia. Cambridge, I'm sure, is a very nice part of the world, but the opportunity to go and play Australia for a year, come on. Wes is going to be a superstar down there.
Yeah, he will be. The way he plays football, he's so intricate and just lovely passing and movement. So, and he's very fit still for even though he's getting on a bit, but he'll enjoy it, I think.
It's Colin Calderwood is the
Colin. Yeah, I know Colin very well actually. And I think he would have been loved to have Wes in it. And I think he spoke really highly of him after.
He did, yeah. It was a bit mad because normally, like, you get snubbed by a player like Wes, who you think is kind of he's at the end of his career. Yeah. He's like, oh look, man, we had this worry about like how we were going to play when we didn't have Wes in the team because we knew we wouldn't be able to play every game. But like, we really wanted him around, and everybody, even the players, were mad keen to play with him.
He was saying how the training improved with Wes being around, with the standards he set.
Yeah, even nice. At this stage of his life.
Amazing.
Like, incredible career. Not manager anymore. That's the Mauricio Pochettino story. We'll get into those details a little bit later on. And it's another Owen Cowser exclusive. He's having a good day. Make Mine Irish. Ireland will appoint German Maren Meinert, women's boss, to replace Colin Bell. The German FA announced the underage managerial star will leave her current role with them. So that's a big appointment, and hopefully it's a signature and statement appointment being made by the FAI. And then GAA Chiefs have upped the capacity for Saturday's Mayo Donegal clash at McHale Park to 27,000. Apparently, it had been reduced to 25,369, below the normal threshold of 31,000, but they're going to be able to squeeze in another 1,500 or so after health and safety, after an audit was done. So that's the back of the Star today.
I'll go with the back of the Irish Daily Mail. Make a stand, it says. Dillon demands fire from fans against Donegal. This is former Mayo star Alan Dillon talking about the big game this weekend, saying you have Stephen Rochford and a depth of familiarity and knowledge of the Mayo squad and how players like to conduct themselves in these games. It will be intriguing, he says, in terms of the match itself, demanding, though, a big vociferous support from the Mayo home crowd. And Carbery Sexton access could ignite Ireland, says Shane Horgan. This is an interesting story this morning. He's talking about the possibility of Joey Carbery starting at 12 for Ireland. He's mentioned the last Lions tour and how Sexton and Owen Farrell managed to link up so well into 10-12 positions, and how that caused the All Blacks in particular a couple of problems, and how Ireland should particularly look at that and how they could utilise another out half at 12, or kind of somebody who's more used to out half at 12. Also mentions how Simon Zebo not being around the camp isn't great, and that Joe Schmidt is kind of missing a trick, not just for the quality he brings to the back three, but also to the mood he brings to the camp. He's a good guy to have around.
I've got here the Irish Daily Star, and it's big headline is First Dibs, which is obviously referring to Paulo Dybala on the move to Manchester United. By the looks of it, with a change for Lukaku, again, this will probably be something which Pochettino in the top corner here, Pochettino may have had an issue with, because there was talks of Tottenham being linked with him, and I think he would have been right up their street as well. So,
tell us about Dybala. Where does he play? Because there was a big debate last night in the show. The lads were wondering about whether or not he would fit into Manchester United's team, and what role does he play? What's his best role?
You would say a 10 is almost his best role, but he plays off the right coming in. He's very tricky, lovely little footballer, great to watch. I think he's a fantastic footballer, and I'd love to see him in the Premiership. But again, it just, from Manchester United, it seems like he could turn out to be a star for them, and he is a very good player, but a bit more haphazard signing. It's like we discussed before about Liverpool and Man City, how they're clinical and they buy players exactly to fit into the structure that they want, whereas Man U seem to sign players that just, because they're very good, they'll bring them to the team, and how they're going to play in that system is going to be hard.
I think part of that also is because we don't really know what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's system is. He hasn't had an opportunity yet to display. If I had my pick and I had influence over transfer policy, these are the types of players and this is the style of play and this is what I'm trying to do. Like, could he play with Rashford? Is that a partnership? Or are they competing?
I think he could play with Rashford, because Rashford, I think you would think with Lukaku gone, Rashford is going to have to be the 9, that up front player that's going to run off the shoulders, and because he's so pacey and quick, and he is a striker. Now, I know he's played a lot from the left, but you would think his role this season is going to be up the middle. But then the issue you have is Pogba, because he's a midfielder, but he's a midfielder that likes to join in as well, so he almost does the 10 role as well as being a midfielder. So it's just trying to get the best of all these players. You've Mata there. It's a concoction. Like, don't get me wrong, on paper, they're fantastic players. It's just trying to get them all to play together.
Yeah, are they a team though, as opposed to the Harlem Globetrotters? The Guardian this morning, I feel my batting confidence is at its lowest. My plan is simply to enjoy my batting again. Moeen Ali and England's Ashes plan, Australia's mentality and his own form. So obviously the build-up to the Ashes. Gloves off for the Ashes. Stokes warns England they have to hit Australia hard. And then there's another picture of Paulo Dybala. There was an Italian newspaper this morning reporting that Napoli were interested in Dybala, so I don't think it's quite a done deal, and that might just be Dybala's agent trying to smooth things along.
Dane Massey is pictured on the back page of the Irish Independent there, of course, in Azerbaijan to play Karabag in the Champions League qualifiers. Mayo boost as injured trio set to return. This is great news from a Mayo perspective. Durkin, Higgins and O'Connor on course to face Donegal in Crunch Super 8's ties. So it seems that Keith Higgins is almost a certainty to come back. Durkin then has been out obviously since the qualifier contest, but the expectation is that both of them will have recovered in time for the weekend's most important game. With 3 days to go, Higgins is most likely to start. Now, team captain Diarmuid O'Connor is also making progress from a broken wrist which he sustained in training 5 weeks ago. And then you've got Matthew Ruan as well. He's not going to be available this week. He obviously broke his, or I'm not sure if he broke his collarbone, but he injured his collarbone at least. And it'll probably be later on, if they progress, that he'll come back. But it looks like they will have Higgins back. It looks like they will have Durkin back. And there's a possibility that we will see Diarmuid O'Connor back in a Mayo jersey at some point this weekend, if they get through.
Diarmuid O'Connor is surely not going to play this weekend. Not a second of game time this weekend, surely. Diarmuid O'Connor. You think he's going to play or not?
I think he could feature at some stage, is what Colm Keys is saying. If you're 1 or 2 points down, Diarmuid O'Connor is like from what I'm saying here. If I'm reading here that he could feature at some stage in Castlebar, I think Diarmuid O'Connor is going to be named on the bench. He will make the squad. And you use him if the game is in a melting pot.
Yeah, okay. Just hope his wrist is okay. Yeah. It's not like he can't get kicked in the wrist or punched. It's a physical game.
It is a physical game. He could come on with just a massive cast. And it's still in a sling. One-handed Diarmuid O'Connor brings Mayo through to the next round.
I've got here Mirror Sport Tunnel Vision, which is obviously indicating about Dundalk and the Champions League. So big night for them in Baku, and we're all hoping obviously that they can succeed. In the corner here, you've got Jose only ready for a special job, hinting at Mourinho, who is on the lookout for a job in football, but he's saying he's only going to pick the right one for him, whether that's in the Premiership or international level, that's to be decided. And then on about Dybala and Lukaku's change, and Poch again in the corner about being a little bit disgruntled at Tottenham and calling himself the coach.
The Telegraph for you this morning, again, building up to the Ashes, Aussie nice guy image does not fool us. Stokes warns England they must hit rivals hard if they want to regain the urn. And then the interesting story down at the bottom there, dominating the fairways, is tiger parenting the key to South Korean success? So women golfers from South Korea dominating on the LPGA Tour, and they're wondering if tiger parenting is the way to go. Competitive spirit and strong family support are reaping dividends. Nothing like a bit of casual racial profiling from the Telegraph to get your breakfast morning going.
The Irish Examiner goes with on a pedestal. Who makes hurling's July All-Stars? John Fogarty's picked his hurling All-Star team so far. Kieran Shannon says Cody's still bringing fire and functionality in hurling's brave new world, while Jerry Flannery, it just didn't feel right for me to stay on with Munster. He speaks about how he still loves the province, how it was a gut feeling for him to leave Munster. Doesn't really get into the ins and outs of why specifically he came to that decision and why exactly he did have that gut feeling. And maybe there'll be more to come from him over the next couple of weeks. But he also talks about the possibility of moving abroad, and that is a kind of, it seems like a big decision for Jerry Flannery at this point. Being at home, working at home, seemed like not just a convenient thing for him, but something that really suited him. And perhaps just we look at it as a very simple thing. He's going to kind of uproot and go somewhere else. But I'm not sure that's going to be the case.
The Irish Times, their lead this morning is the Darragh O'Shea column. Tyrone cannot hold anything back against Dublin. I'm going to read you the intro to this. I really wish I had Owen's dulcet Kerry tones to give you the full impact of Darragh O'Shea's column this morning. When you're around long enough, you get to hear everything eventually. I thought I was long past being surprised by anything in football. But then I heard Peter Canavan saying he reckoned Tyrone should be trying to keep a bit up their sleeve when they play Dublin on Sunday. And you know what's worse? I think he might even believe it. Can you imagine the reaction if I said that about Kerry? If they were in Tyrone's position, it would all be cute or this and yeah or that. Would anybody take it seriously? Not for a second. I mean, I would totally take it seriously that Kerry might hold something back if they were already through in the Super 8s, with the likelihood and the hope that they were going to meet them again in the All-Ireland. It makes sense, doesn't it? There's a lot of shadow boxing going on ahead of this game.
Well, I did agree with you until I actually read the full column, and he brings up those Colm Kavanagh quotes from last year where he says that they went, 5 points to 1 up early in the game, and they were like to themselves,
let's kill them.
Oh my God, we're up against Dublin. They kind of, there was kind of a little bit of a collapse. They were like, this is Croke Park, there's 82,000 people here, we're beating the best team perhaps of all time. And they went back into their shell. Dublin scored 2-6, then for the remainder of the half it was game over. Whereas if you win in Omagh this weekend and you beat Dublin, regardless of if it's a second string Dublin team, and you're in that same position in the All-Ireland final, and you're 4 points or 5 points to 1 up, you don't collapse as much this year. You have that thing in the locker which suggests to you that you actually can beat the blue jersey of Dublin. You actually can notch a win against this team. So I think really when it comes to the mentality of it all, actually going gung-ho and beating Dublin this week has a lot going for it. I think that's a really strong idea that Darragh O'Shea is putting forward there, because before I read that column I thought Peter Canavan was bang on. It was like, there's no point even trying this week. Keep everything up your sleeve. But
Dublin might be doing the same.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter. I really don't think it matters. I think actually just getting a win against that team.
The belief that you can actually beat them then, so it gives you, instills the confidence that when you go in a bigger game that you can actually win. Yeah.
That's it. I think that you can't, there is no kind of quantifiable way of measuring that. But what you do know is that Jim Gavin will have his homework done on every single eventuality for Tyrone if they meet again in the All-Ireland final. Whatever you have up your sleeve, Jim Gavin is likely to find it.
What's next?
I have Herald Sport here, and hinting at Hart facing difficult choice as Tyrone get ready for a Dublin visit. So same situation with players he's going to pick, whether he's going to field a strong team or whether they're going to go for it or not. And there's an image here of Man U against the game in Norway, Kristiansund, which is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's son's team, who made his debut in the game last night. His professional debut, which would have been nice for him. And then Dundalk will dare to dream, which is obviously talking about Dundalk's game in Baku, which we're all really hoping that they can do it.
A couple of more for me. The London Times leads with Stokes talking down Warner, our big target. You've got Manchester United beginning their Dybala talks and Pochettino saying, I'm only the coach. And then finally, Racing Post. Punters give French import a vote as he heads Elliott's 5-strong challenge to smash the plate for the third in 4 years. It's all about the Galway plate this morning. And then the back page is burning ambition. Ashes rivals ready to do battle in Test Arena.
Okay, here's the Irish news this morning. So Gallagher and McEnany may join forces in Farney County. So this is an interesting story. Roy Gallagher, who has just stepped down as the manager of Fermanagh, is potentially going to join Banty.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is quite the odd marriage that they're trying to put together there in Monaghan. They probably have a very good relationship. They obviously know each other. Everybody in GA Circle seems to know each other, but that is not a story I expected to see this morning.
No, absolutely. And so, can we stick that back up and try and do a bit of reading on it? So, yeah, sorry, it's obviously too small.
I was going to say, get the binoculars so you might be able to see it.
We'll get a hard copy before the end of the show and look into it. Like, the thing is, if Rory Gallagher leaves the Fermanagh job, like, I didn't even read a statement, but you can pretty much take it that he left. He wasn't sacked as Fermanagh
manager. Oh, God, no, his
manager.
reputation's enhanced.
Yeah, for sure. So he obviously has something else in mind here, and Monaghan will be a step up. Rory Gallagher now, the thing is, he's always preached this thing that he got the best out of this Fermanagh team. He played in a manner that not a lot of people liked, but I think it's a fair enough argument to say that he actually got the best out of them to a certain point. He doesn't have that excuse with Monaghan now. He will have to play a different game with Monaghan, and maybe McEnany will actually kind of, I don't know what McEnany will bring on that front. I struggle to even think what was McEnany's
the front man, and Rory is the football brains. That's how that works. It's like
Banty's the front man.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah. That's what I would think.
I would go the other way, to be quite honest.
What?
I would have Rory Gallagher being front and centre as the manager with Banty in your backroom team.
Well, and what would Banty do in that backroom team? Because he's not noted as a genius tactician.
No, but
you're getting Rory on as your coach, and
yeah. I guess I see your point, but ultimately, I'm picking which of the two would I rather have as the number one man in the dressing room. Like, who do I want to actually have as the manager? And I'd probably pick Gallagher over Banty.
That can have the mainstay, like, that will actually make the decisions. You think?
Yeah, I think so.
Decisions?
I think so. But then, what does as you say, what does Banty contribute?
I
in
think
the
we're probably
team?
saying that they're going to have the same roles, just different titles. Like
co-manager is the sort of Holmes and Kennelly job.
No, I think that the person responsible for the philosophy about how the team is going to play from back to front will be Rory Gallagher, and Banty will do the media and fundraising and managerial stuff.
Yeah, picking the team.
I presume that's Rory.
Then why just make a manager and forget Banty?
Well, because look.
Way overcomplicated situation.
Like I don't understand. Like, what was Wexford's philosophy a couple of years ago when Banty was in charge? What was Meath's philosophy?
Exactly.
I don't understand.
So you put Rory in charge of philosophy. That's what I've said.
Yeah, but like, why do you have to have Banty involved?
Because it's Monaghan, so he's the cover.
Ah, come on.
I mean, come on. What? Like, you know, the McEnanys are.
Where was the last manager from?
On football.
You don't need to have a Monaghan man to bring Monaghan to their greatest ever heights. In fact, the Fermanagh man just did it. So, like, I just don't understand this. Actually, this is literally just been landed on us, and I've kind of been thinking as I've been speaking here. And the more I've been speaking, the more ridiculous it actually is.
A rape by a.
It's like just make Rory Gallagher your manager and be done with it.
Maybe it was Banty's idea. Who knows?
Maybe, and the absence of ego is what's being shown here. will it be Bonner and Stephen Rocher basically? Is that what they're trying to achieve?
So it doesn't really matter who the manager is, right? If you're winning, you're winning. All right, it's 7:55 a.m. this morning on OTB AM, the Sports Breakfast Show from Off the Ball. OTB AM is sponsored by Avantcard, powered by MasterCard. It's time to talk football.
These are the same players that threw Marino under the bus, and they will do exactly the same to Ollie.
10 questions on Manchester United for Stephen Kelly this morning. What impact would Harry Maguire coming in for up to 90 million have on the dressing room? Does he fill a centre-half hole? Can he have a transformative impact on the side? Or does everybody look, what the hell are you doing spending 90 million on this guy?
There'll be question marks first. Obviously there's going to be question marks first. Like we discussed this, we've had question marks about Van Dijk for the price he came for, and obviously now you'd pay double that for him because of what he's done. Is Harry Maguire as good as Van Dijk? I don't think so. Is he going to have the same impact Van Dijk has had in Liverpool? I don't think so. Can he play football? Is he easy on the eye to watch? Yes. Is he going to completely transform that defence on his own? I'm not too sure. I think Koulibaly would be a better defender than what he is. I think Harry Maguire is very good at bringing the ball out, and he sees. And don't get me wrong, he's a good defender. He'll head in, tackle, and win things. But will he completely change or transform that defence? I'm not too sure.
Is he world class? Is Harry Maguire world class? Because they're paying world class money for him.
They're paying he could prove us all wrong in a year from now, and he could go on to have the most unbelievable season for Manchester United. And like I said, we did have these questions about Van Dijk when he did come in, but I just don't see Harry Maguire on the same level as him. So for the fact that Leicester, even if they got anything near 75 million for, you'd think they'd bite their hand off. They obviously rate him highly if they're considering holding on to him for that price, but you think they would be thinking, right, this is...
But, maybe they're looking at what happened with Van Dijk, and there was the first nibble at Van Dijk, and then they got the super price at Christmas, so maybe they think they'll get the super price at Christmas anyway, and Maguire can play or not play in the meantime. Van Dijk barely played for Southampton in the meantime. The other thing that strikes me about all this is, and it was kind of a bit of a wild conspiracy theory when Man City were showing interest in it earlier in the season. I actually now fully believe that Man City never had any intention of signing Harry Maguire. Yeah. They were just let's rep that price up.
Yeah, let's just get up. Yeah, almost it was just get the price up and put Man U out of condition for signing someone else. But with Bally being out now, he's out for 5 months, 6 months, they're saying, with injury. So they could get that crazy price now, because Man U could be in more of a desperate situation to pay more for someone. And like I said, supposedly you see in the paper talk that Solskjaer's having talks with Woodward to try and get it done. So that could make them offer that extra little bit of cash to get it sealed. If
you're Solskjaer, you don't care about the cost, right? You just want to get the player in, and haggling now over money when they could have had Maguire in training for the last 2 weeks, meeting his new teammates, building up a rapport.
You don't care about the cost, but then the cost could come back to bite him if Solskjaer has pushed this one through and doesn't turn out to be an amazing centre-back signing like everybody. But what they have there at the moment are players that need a strong, Jones and Smalling, they need a strong character beside them, I think, for them to perform well. They're not bad, they're good defenders. Don't get me, they're playing a Man U, they're good defenders, but they need someone beside them that can really be the leading leader. And will Harry Maguire step into that role and improve them?
Which he has to do for what they're asking him to do. Okay, next question. When the continental transfer window closes, will Paul Pogba be a Manchester United player? And briefly, if he stays, how should Ole Gunnar Solskjaer use him?
I think he will be there. I think Real Madrid seem to have so much going on in the background. They're the only team that seem really interested. And I know Juventus have talked about it, but I can't see that happening. Real seem to be the ones that are pushing for it, and with all the kind of disgruntlement and stuff going on in the background there, I can't see them getting the funds together to. So if he is there, Solskjaer almost, will he make him captain? Will he make him the role? Give him a key role on the team? He has to. I think to get the best out of him, he needs to love him. He needs to put his arm around him. He needs to tell him that he's the greatest player in the world and that I see everything being going through you. And I think that's how you get your most out of Paul Pogba. But if his head is being turned and if he's looking to get away, then I'm not sure that anything Solskjaer can do. He might just be in a foul mood because he didn't get his dream move to Real Madrid.
Yeah, I mean, although if you're him, you think you may as well play well this season because that Real Madrid move will happen. But if you go off the ball and somebody else starts playing brilliantly, who might be a better foil for Eden Hazard, Real Madrid might think again. So it's worth your while if you're Pogba to play well.
You think that? That's what most people would have in their mindset. But some players just have the ability to think, no, I should have been done and hold it against the club. I don't know what Pogba's mindset is. I've never met him, but
part of a midfield three for if he stays? That's where
You would think it'd have to be a midfield three with the players they brought in, and like I said, if Dybala happens now, that would have to be a three.
Okay, out of 10, how legitimate do you think the idea is that Dybala could come to the club? Is he the type of player that they need, and where does he play?
I think it looks like it could happen. Lukaku seems determined to get himself out, so for that to happen, they're going to have to either get a lot of money for him, or it's going to be a swap deal for someone, and Dybala fits that because he's going to be worth a lot of money. He's very talented, he's great on the ball, offers a lot of options, like in pockets, but will he fit into a system? Like I said, we don't know what system Manchester United are going to play, we don't know who his best team is. If you're going to bring him in, you need to really play him, and he plays well off the right coming in and linking up. He also plays well in a 10 role, but then again you're kind of disrupting Paul Pogba's ability to get forward and join in, so it's a conundrum, all right.
I'm not sure about this at all.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a FIFA signing.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
That's what this is. It's somebody who looks good in your ultimate team, and because he's got certain attributes. But on an actual practical level, in terms of how Manchester United are going to play, so say you said they play with a midfield three, that means they play with an attacking three.
Yeah.
That means where does Paulo Dybala play? Right at a three.
Yeah.
Whereas he played for Juventus since Cristiano Ronaldo's come in. Right at a three. What was his worst season and what position was he in?
Three.
Right at a three.
What was his best season?
In the 10 role.
10 role, yeah.
Before Ronaldo came. He's gone from 22 goals in Serie A to 5 goals last season. Granted, goals aren't everything, especially when Cristiano Ronaldo's in the team, because everything has to go through him, and set pieces, penalties, whatever it may be. But still, I think that drop off in figures when a guy is in the peak of his career is really stark. This is the guy that we put up there with the likes of Kylian Mbappe as the next era, the next Messi, Ronaldo. Besides someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, he's supposed to be thriving. It hasn't happened. I think there's a lot around this guy that just would worry Manchester United fans. I think if Spurs sold Christian Eriksen and used the Eriksen money to buy Paulo Dybala and put him into 10 role, be a way better fit.
Oh, much better, yeah. I think he's a much better fit for Tottenham than he is for Manchester United, because Pochettino has a system that he would fit into, and he would almost get a system to play around it. But obviously that would mean Eriksen going to fill that, whereas I don't think if you have Eriksen, you're not going to bring in Dybala, because it's just going to be a conflict of interest, basically, I think.
Well, is there no way that they can play together? Is there no way you can just play... you can play it a number 10 and still have a three-man midfield? Like, I don't know if it's a diamond or there's ways, or if it's like that three is actually two and
Potentially.
it's a... Pogba plays in between the two at the base of your midfield.
They did it with Jesse Lingard last year as kind of the tip of the diamonds,
yeah.
but that would have to be a very different role than what Jesse Lingard did, because he was there for what he did off the ball or out of possession. So, like, are you putting him in at the tip of the diamonds, and you have Marcus Rashford as one of the two, and who is the other person?
You just have Rashford and Dybala up front, right?
Okay,
and, like,
so it's two and then somebody...
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely a way to work that out where he's not playing on the right of a three.
Yeah, well, if he's doing the two up front, then he's just naturally going to drop into holes and positions behind the front, and because that's where he likes to operate. He likes to operate in those little pockets where he can receive the ball and turn, and then he does like to end the box as well. A lot of his goals are scored inside the box because he kind of comes in late. It's very difficult because, again, from outside, you kind of look and thinking, what system are they going to play? What shape are they going to play? How is it going to all set out for them? And you just don't know. And through pre-season, it's hard to tell what's their best team going to be. And so it's difficult. But is he a talent? Yes, he's a very good footballer. But he needs the right team to play in, and he needs to have the right system to suit him.
Yeah, and look, I think that's the big unknown, is that Solskjaer came in, inherited the situation that he had, made a good fist of it for 10 weeks, made a terrible fist of it for the second 10 weeks, and now for the first 10 weeks of the season we're going to get an opportunity to see what his philosophy is, what his style of play is. I mean, maybe he's an old school 4-4-2 guy, and he's going to try and play Paul Pogba as one of a two in the middle of midfield. Who knows? Yeah. With two wingers called Giggs and Kanchelskis. Quick answer here. Have you seen much of Bruno Fernandes, and is he going to Manchester United?
I've not seen that much of him, but I've heard a lot about him. He's supposed to be an absolutely outstanding player.
He definitely exists,
yeah,
does he?
He exists. I think he exists, yeah. I think he does, yeah. It must do for that fee. But I think Man U seem to be very keen on him, but whether or not they're going to get him, and again, will he fit into their system that they play? I don't know. Like they just seem to be targeting the highest players that are out there at the moment, the biggest money players, like they were linked with De Ligt, and that didn't happen. Fernandes now, it looks like he was gone because there was issues that he looked like he'd said goodbye to teammates and stuff like that. So whether it's to Man U, I'm not too sure, but he's a talented player.
What type of player is he?
He's kind of a bit of everything, really. Have you seen him play? No,
I haven't seen enough of him.
Yeah, he offers a bit of everything to them. Like he's very good in the ball, gets forward well, picks a pass. He's just a bit of an all-rounder, like, yeah. And
is he under Herrera again?
Yeah,
is he under Herrera? Except slightly better. They hope.
Herrera, but more agile, more athletic, gets around better than he does. So I would say that'd be
okay. So as a replacement for in terms of the squad where he's going to play. Okay. This one I think is impossible to answer, but because apparently Martial is tearing up trees in pre-season. Who starts up front for Manchester United against Chelsea? Opening day of the season.
I think he'll go with Rashford, even though Martial has looked very impressive in the front row. I think he looks very good in that position. But again, he's looked very good on the left as well, whereas I think he's been better on the left than what Rashford has been. So I would say Rashford up the middle, and then Martial is still going to be important and can give you goals from the left-hand side as well. If you have both them on the pitch with the pace that they offer, and keeping him fit, like I think he's probably been arguably the best player over the last couple of seasons when he's been fit and played well and showed a bit of confidence. But him on the left hand side, I like him coming in because he has a tendency to drift inside and nick goals from you.
So to go back to the debate, where is it possible that they do play, if Dybala happens, that they do play him as part of a front three, and on the left it's Martial up front, it's Rashford, and so he didn't play particularly well with Cristiano Ronaldo, but I mean that's probably has something to do with Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, no, I accept that. Yeah,
you know, but maybe he plays much better as part of a partnership or a trio with those two.
Yeah, who are both willing to be team players. Certainly Marcus Rashford.
Yeah, well, they're not going to have that ego because they haven't warranted it yet at this point. Like, if Cristiano Ronaldo's in your team, you're going to get the ball to him because he's going to score your goals. That's what you do. Let's face it.
And if he doesn't get it, he's going to puff and blow the house down.
So, whereas if you have Martial, Rashford, and then Dybala, it look on paper that looks very good. It looks like a good front three, and it looks like players that can get you. There's goals between the three of them. It's not just all going to be focused on one player. But if you're going on what he's done last season in that position, and it's not been his greatest.
This is be careful what you wish for, Man United fans. Will Lukaku be missed when Manchester United need to grind out a midweek result against mid-table opposition? Good man to score you 2 goals.
Yeah, you know what? I think Lukaku, he scored goals, obviously, apart from Manchester United, everywhere he's been. And I always feel like he's a player that technically he's not the best in the world. And you see sometimes ball bounces off him and he can be frustrating to watch because as a big, imposing centre forward that you want to bring people into the games, you think his first touch lets him down at times. But he gets goals. And I think any manager worth their salt could have got goals from him. And a team like Manchester United, where they should create more chances for someone, he should have scored bundles of goals for this team. Obviously, he wasn't loved that much by Mourinho, and Solskjaer's come in and kind of taken on that mantle where he doesn't really care for him. So I think his confidence has dropped and he just doesn't feel like he's wanted there. So he's desperate to go. But he could be missed. The form he was in, he's not going to be missed because he wasn't in that great form, but that's based on the fact that he hasn't played that much.
What about Alexis Sanchez? Is there anything that they can do to rekindle, rescue, reclaim that project?
It's so hard to tell because, like I said, at Manchester, at Arsenal, he was phenomenal. He was one of the best players every time he got. But he had so many touches. I think there's a big statistic about how his touches have changed so much. And so when he was at Arsenal, the ball, one of the first passes was to find him. So if he was having 50 touches, 25 of them would turn out in something. At Manchester United, he's getting a lot less. So
and further away from goal as well.
Yeah, further away from goal. Yeah, so it was turning out like he's a very good player. At Barcelona and Arsenal, he's been excellent. Man U's not got it, but I think it's based on the way they've played. They've not got the ball to him as much, and they've had other players in the team that they've tried to find before him, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I saw those stats as well, and they basically just haven't got the best out of him. I don't necessarily blame the Manchester United management for that because at Arsenal he was their talisman.
He was the one, yeah.
Like even with Ozil in the team, he was without question their most effective player in the offensive third. Sometimes he wasn't that player for Manchester United, or certainly they had other talents in that area of the park that they wanted to bring into the game. So I think they've kind of lacked a little bit there. Like I'd love to see Alexis Sanchez just tried out in kind of a false nine role or something like that. Just get him as close to goal as possible in a position that would allow Alexis Sanchez to be to do not that much around the rest of the park, but have him as close to the opposition goal as possible and just see what happens, because the way he's been played on the left flank just hasn't worked for United.
And he's got a phenomenal work rate when you watch him as well. Like he does try, like well, Arsenal, the effort he would put in, and when he gets the ball in tight areas, his ability to turn in small tight areas and get facing the goal quickly is excellent. So again, another extremely talented player who's just not done at Manchester United, which just makes you think that the club don't seem to be getting the best out of players.
No, there's something rotten in the culture at the moment. One word answer here. What percentage chance do Manchester United have of getting back into the Champions League this season? Is it bigger than 0?
35%.
All right, that's a good chance.
I think so.
It's an E plus.
Yeah.
Still failed.
Is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer definitely going to be the Manchester United manager on Christmas morning? Their first 7 games: Chelsea at home, Wolves away, which is obviously very difficult for Manchester United, Palace at home, Southampton away, Leicester at home, West Ham away, Arsenal at home.
So you list off that fixtures list. These are Manchester United's fixtures, and I'm like, they're tough fixtures. If you said these are Manchester City's fixtures, I'd be like, they're actually grand fixtures.
And
all those away trips, it's like
6-7 years ago, you would have said, it's okay, it's Manchester United.
Yeah.
So
6-7 years ago, I'd be like, they might drop a point against Chelsea and maybe against. They won't drop points against Arsenal. Yeah. Now it's like, will they win any of those games? I'm not sure. I mean, will they go to Southampton and win? I'm not sure.
That's the thing. They could be. The Man U that turns up, that doesn't turn up, could be turned over by Southampton. That's the issue that they're having. They're not consistent. They don't have, teams don't fear them anymore. And when they go into a game, you don't know if everybody's going to, if 10 of your 11 players are going to perform. A lot of time it's like 6 are performing. They're not, and then the players that they expect to step up aren't stepping up. So with them, anything can happen, and he could totally be gone before Christmas.
Yeah. The hashtag #Glazer'sOut trends almost every night on Twitter. Do you think any of that negativity seeps through to the squad, or is it just outside their bubble?
No, it doesn't. No, as a player, anything that's happening off the field and since the boardroom and stuff, unless it's actually directly affecting you, it doesn't really matter. You just get on with your game, and your main focal point from the club and your main person is the manager. So unless it's affecting him and he's letting it show, like if he's getting a lot of pressure and then he's showing that around the training ground or showing it in his mannerism has changed slightly, or he's not as upbeat or whatever, if that's happened to him, then it'll affect you. But if the manager's not getting affected by it and he's trying to shield them, it shouldn't affect you as a player.
Okay. What was the best Manchester United team you played against?
The one with Cristiano Ronaldo in it. So he left in 09. Yeah.
So that was Ronaldo, Rooney, Ferdinand, Vidic, the works, basically. That would have been my best one. I did get to play against Keane, Roy as well for a little bit, but it was coming towards the end. But yeah, the best team I would have played would have been the Rooney, Ronaldo. They were just, you go to Manchester United and not really think you're going to get anything. Yeah.
You know, if you came away with a draw, it was an amazing result.
And how did everybody think that in the team?
Like,
was it ever spoken about?
You didn't think it. And you would never, as a professional footballer, you would never.
It looked that way.
Yeah, but you would.
From the outside, it looked like every team going there was like, oh, we're already beaten here.
Yeah, you would never. Going into every game, you have to believe you can win it, and that probably sounds stupid, but you have to think, right, we can get something here. But then, you know that if you got a result, if you got a draw, you'll be absolutely elated, you'd be delighted. So it's in the back of your mind that a draw here is amazing. If you had to come away with anything, would be great. Just not getting beaten, but you know going into the game that it's going to be a difficult task, because they just, like Evra, they had so much talent and they had so much tenacity about them. Like, they were aggressive all over the pitch. Like, Rooney was aggressive, like hassling you, chasing you down. Ronaldo was just flying winger, but that was scoring like 30 goals a season from that position. So they were a phenomenal team.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, that's enough Manchester United. We're going to be back with Deal or No Deal after these.
Placing a bet during the Galway Festival? Then look no further than Bruce Betting. New Irish accounts can enjoy a risk-free first bet up to €100. So if your first bet loses, we'll refund your stake with a free bet. Now that's giving you more. Bruce Betting. In-store, online, and now on your phone. Please gamble responsibly. See gamblingcare.ie.
Let's face it, the Irish summer has serious commitment issues. It's always late, disappears for weeks at a time, and consistently breaks its promises. But not us. At Electric Ireland, we're committed to giving you an 8.5% saving on your gas and electricity year after year after year after year. Visit electricireland.ie/join for the kind of commitment you deserve.
Estimated annual bill €1,736. Average consumption, urban 24-hour, discounted unit rate, standing charge, PSO levy and carbon tax. Residential, dual fuel, direct debit and online billing. Terms and conditions apply. See electricireland.ie/EAB. Rated 1st of April 2019. Subject to change.
Okay, so this is the wild scene.
We're actually on the course.
At the Galway races yesterday. The green flag goes down. Look, number one getting the push there, that's Ollie Canning. Number two, romping home what looks like with victory is Aidan O'Mahony until he falls over. Number three at the back there, horribly, is me. 4 is John Duggan. And then 5, coming out of nowhere, is Owen Sheehan, who looks
Late
like
bloomer.
it's going to be a bit of a comeback here.
Watch how Ollie bottles this at the end.
He just gets into it and catches up at the end on the far side and romps home. It's a victory by a short head.
I just genuinely didn't. I didn't think I actually had that until I watched it back, and clearly I did. It's amazing, the kind of post endorphin rush I got. Like, I didn't get drug tested now yesterday. There's the one thing. There was no random test afterwards, so for all they know, I was absolutely...
Ollie disappeared for about 10 minutes beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering what was going on there, but, you know.
Yeah, I'd like to admit I was up to my gills in EPO.
Well, you know, I mean, the Zorb World Cup, they don't care about that. They just want the publicity. We've got some brilliant prizes to give away all this week with thanks to Tennis Ireland. The AIG Irish Open Tennis Championships is running all this week at Carrickmines Croquet and Lawn Tennis Club with a host of international players on show. Entry is free. Just check out tennisireland.ie to register. This week on OTBAM, we're giving you the chance to win a Wilson racket every day and also put yourself in the frame for our final prize of a 2-day trip to Madrid, accommodation and 2 tickets to the Davis Cup semi-final. To enter the draw, answer this question: who's won more Davis Cup medals, Federer, Djokovic, Murray or Nadal? Tweet us the answer using the hashtag OTBAM. You can comment below, either if you're on YouTube or indeed if you're on Facebook, and we'll announce the winner later on. So to enter the draw, answer this question: who's won more Davis Cup medals, Federer, Djokovic, Murray or Nadal? Use the hashtag OTBAM and get along to Carrickmines Croquet and Lawn Tennis Club for the AIG Irish Open Tennis Championships. Now, time for us to time for Deal or No Deal.
To be fair, now is a dream come true for me.
Right, time for Deal or No Deal. Pochettino wants to be called a head coach, not a manager. Is that a reflection of how the big clubs really work? And can they reach the heights that Spurs this is? Can they reach the heights that they hit last season again this year? Should Pochettino just accept that, like, he is a head coach and not a manager, or is this actually him trying to curry favour with the fans because, you know, this mess isn't his creation, it's the guys above?
It's kind of the first time you've seen him and there's not been real cohesion with him and Levy for, like, I've not seen him really be outspoken. He's not said anything against the board, but be outspoken against it, because even when the last 2 windows, when they haven't signed somebody, he's not been that vocal really about it. He's kind of been happy with the squad he's had. So to come out and say this now, he's trying to distance himself from the players that have been signed, because maybe he's watched them at training. I don't know. He could have watched them at training and thinking, I don't want to be associated. If these don't turn out to be the club, you know, record transfer, it doesn't turn out to be as good as what we think it's going to be.
What was the line before the Champions League final? It's going to be, or before the semi-final, second leg against Ajax, rather. He said 4 or 5 years before we challenge the line before the Champions League final, saying, I'm just going to go home if we win this. Yes, I don't know. I think that there's been a cryptic nature to some of the things he said, and in this case, I think it's not so cryptic whatsoever. I think the answer to your question is clear. He's sending a very distinct message to Daniel Levy. I actually have a suspicion here that there is a bit of a war going on for Paulo Dybala, and he realises now that Manchester United have won this battle if he's coming to the Premier League, and he's not happy about this one bit. And he is sending a message to the top that, you know, Ndombele was great. It was brilliant to break our record signing. You know, sign a player for the first time in 500 days or whatever it was at the start of the transfer window. But the last month has not been good. No, they need more.
They've tapered off, haven't they? And they haven't improved their squad as much as people would have liked to have done. Especially that the fact that they were in the Champions League final, that would have given them a platform to sign players that they may have thought would have been out of their reach, because they said they've reached the highest point in club football. Yeah,
the only counter argument is that if they get out of this transfer window keeping Christian Eriksen, then it's a good window. It's like, I mean, it's not the same as a new signing, but it's as good as, because if they lost him and they signed Dybala, there's this like settling in period. You don't know if it's going to work or not. Everybody knows Christian Eriksen's going to be a success.
Yeah.
For Spurs. The full season in the new stadium next year.
And even Toby Alderweireld as well. Him, if he doesn't go, I think that's a big plus for them, because he's a very good defender, and they need to have players like that in their squad. And I think with his fee has changed, hasn't it? So it's gone from being a 25 million buyout clause to like 37 because we're in the last few weeks. So that might put people off as well. But
why did nobody's paid 25 million? I
know. You think Man U would have actually?
Most confusing thing that's happened this window.
Like, why did Man U not go in and take him? Like,
doesn't make any sense.
He would have been perfect for Manchester United. Ball playing centre back who's aggressive. A
quarter of the price of
what Harry Maguire is, and he's a proven track record in the Premiership.
Yeah, so I just don't understand it.
It's potentially an age thing.
Yeah, I think it is age thing. I think they want someone that's going to. But Harry Maguire is. No, I mean, he's not like I know he's not 30 odd, but he's 27, is Maguire 26?
Yeah, you will get a few. You get the full contract out of him anyway, you'd imagine, but Alderweireld, you wouldn't get that. It'd be kind of like a short-term fix. But still, I find it ridiculous that nobody came in.
Yeah.
Spurs season last year, did they reaching the Champions League final paper over a little bit the fact that they weren't in any way competitive when it came to a title race?
I think it did, but then also the levels that City and Liverpool showed were beyond what anybody expected them to be able to do last season. Like, for Liverpool to not win the league and do what they did was phenomenal. For Man City to have won it is just beyond belief that they're able to sustain that level throughout the season. So for Tottenham to have tapered off a bit towards the end, and they were in it up until 3 or 4 months from the end, they were like pushing, but they were just always falling a little bit short. Like, the Champions League final was probably the best they were going to do, and if they had won that, then that would have been just amazing.
Yeah.
But they it was a sign that them not getting to the levels with this showed that they needed to bring in some extra players, and that was the opportunity for them to go, right, Champions League final, great, we got there, we've got to a final of a major tournament, which we haven't done really. So league, are we going to push for that? If we are, we're going to have to improve our squad, because City and Liverpool have improved their squad over the last few seasons and done it to great effect.
Harry Kane obviously missed a good portion of the end of the season last year, and they didn't really have enough strength and depth. I mean, obviously Lucas Moura came through with the hat-trick in the semi-final second leg, and maybe that is just their replacement, maybe that's his role in future, but you can see that they don't have enough strength and depth.
No, they don't. And like I said, even Dele Alli, who is, I think, for the last few months of the season, I don't think it was great at all. I think his form wasn't good. So if you have a player like him, who you would have thought if you had someone pushing him for his role, you may have either improved him or they would have been able to step in to take over. I know he was injured for a while as well, but no, they need to have players that can either push the team that are in front of them or step in when needed be. Son stepped up when Kane was out, and he was excellent for the games that Kane missed, and that was brilliant. And he obviously I think he performed better when Kane wasn't on the pitch, and they were the statistics. But they do need to improve their squad if they want to have any chance of getting to the title.
What's Daniel Levy thinking when he reads this? Because it's like, I'm not in charge, I know nothing about the situation of my players, I'm only coaching them, trying to get the best from them. These type of things that are going to happen or not happen, sell or buy players, extend contract or not extend contract, it's not in my hands, it's in the club's hands and in Daniel Levy's hand. At the moment, I'm managing the team in the best way possible. Maybe the club needs to change my title description now, because my job is to coach the team. I am the boss, designing the strategy to train, to play, the methodology, the philosophy in my area. But in another area, today, I think I'm the coach. I think it's important for the players to know, it's important for the people to know.
Because it changed the other way, didn't it? On his last contract, was he head coach when he was initially appointed?
Yeah, I think
then he got made
manager
manager on his second contract.
Yeah.
So it's title is something that Mauricio Pochettino cares about deeply, I think, and the status of the manager and the cult of the manager, or now the cult of the head coach.
Yeah, and what the manager job entails. He thinks the manager should be running everything with not day-to-day business, but like transfers in there. He feels like he should have a real say in it. Obviously, he's not had that much of a say, but Tottenham have always been a club that have either had a director of football or someone that's been so that regardless of who's in charge of the team, they have their own philosophy that takes them forward. And but this is it's worrying signs, because you don't want to lose him, and you don't want to you don't want to like be, and you guarantee Levy would have given him a call straight away after that, because Levy is not he's a feisty character, so he wouldn't have been happy with it. But it's Tottenham don't want to have the manager not happy being at the club, because if if anybody you want to keep at that club, it's him.
Yeah, because he's kept that together over the last couple of years, and there's been clear signs of progress. Gareth Bale has been sensationally included in Real Madrid's promo shoot for their beautiful new intense green third kit. Is this a sign that Gareth Bale is staying? There's the kit. He looks happy, doesn't he? Very happy, Gareth Bale.
Latest to be around Madrid.
What is this crap? I can't believe I have to do it, is what that look says.
It's such a strange one. I can understand they wanted the money for him so that they could bring in other players, and they felt that he was probably a big asset to sell. He's still a talent. Like, he's still a good player. He's still but if it just depends on what his body language is around the place and if he's moping about. But it seems like the talk now is that they're saying that he might see out Zidane, which is crazy. Zidane's only taken over in the last 6 months, so it's unbelievable to think that now it could be turning around for him.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that possibility until there's a good chance he might see out. I mean, it's Real Madrid. Their manager changes every 6 months.
Like, there's every chance that Zidane's second tenure is just a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
Just because it happened the first time does not mean it's going to happen the second time, especially because they don't have Ronaldo. And also let's face it as well. Like, I mean, if you had to turn to one other player outside of Ronaldo in the biggest moment, it was obviously Gareth Bale when they did the 3 in a row.
I think Eden Hazard's going to be good for them.
Oh, he'll be excellent. Yeah,
I think
actually kind of a stick about saying he's overweight and stuff, but. I don't know. I think Eden Hazard's one of the best players in the world, so I think he'll be fantastic for them.
You look at someone like Jovic then, obviously unbelievable last year in the Europa League, brilliant in Bundesliga. I don't know, as soon as he signed for Real Madrid, I was like, if this was the level of players they were signing in the Galactico project at its peak, there might have been a few eyebrows raised. Now, I do think it's a good football signing. I think that they needed a number 9.
Yeah.
But I've just got my doubts about whether or not he's going to hit the ground running. He's obviously not going to hit the ground running because he's currently injured. But in terms of actually when he gets back to full fitness, I've got a few concerns about that in terms of how Real Madrid have actually dealt this window. And I think the way they treated Gareth Bale is a mistake.
No, it's shocking because you don't treat what he's done for the club, and then again, not just talking about statistics, but when you see the goals he scored in games he's played and the important goals he scored, he's done so much for them in a short space of time. He's won so much with them in a short space of time. So to be completely dismissing him and almost pushing him out the door in the way that they have done, and so publicly, that's an.
Well, they didn't exactly help themselves when it came to negotiating a fee.
No.
Like, you don't want him. You're going to give him to us at the last minute for a knockdown price because you want rid of him.
Yeah, like Zidane literally said, it will be great if he left tomorrow.
Yeah, like it's.
What's it like when somebody in the squad, everybody knows they want out and they're at training? What's that like? Is he getting? Is everybody taking the piss out of him? Is it like?
Depends on the character. Like, I've been at teams where you've had players that they want to leave and they've gone about it the right way. They just kind of gone about their business, and behind the scenes done what they needed to do to get themselves out. And then I've been with teams where other players have just come in and literally tried to piss about in training and mess and do things that they shouldn't really do and be just a negative impact on the team. And even if you would be friends with them, and you'd still see that they've changed slightly because they're determined to get this move, and it's not something that they should really do. But like I said, the lads are professional. You have to hold your hats off to them because in the end it works out. But a few of the guys I've been around, it's not nice when they're just throwing the toys out of pram and being just being a nuisance around the change room.
Yeah. Okay. Free agency. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this because a bunch of players are letting their contracts run down. But I've long had the theory, if I was a professional footballer, if I was an agent, that I would be getting my clients short contracts, 2-year deals, and backing them, maybe getting some insurance against career-threatening injury. And so that you're the one with the power constantly.
So you have a free well, that's obviously the thing as well. If you're signing for a team, teams want security, so they're going to want to try and tie down a long contract. So it's that happy medium, whereas you want to sign for them, and if the team are willing to sign you, they're going to want to have some sort of control over it. You can actually leave in 2 years from now, or they're not going to have to offer you a crazy deal in 2 years from now if they're giving you a good one. But as a player, I said free contracts. I've been the benefit of one. When I was at Birmingham, I was doing really well, and I kind of let my contract run down, and I was happy to stay at Birmingham. But
did they talk to you? Did they come to you and say, "Here, listen, we've noticed you're out of contract in a couple of months"? Yeah,
they spoke to me about it, and at the time, Birmingham were going through a bit of a transition. They were selling the club to so they were kind of all over the place behind the board. So for me, it worked in my benefit because the club was going in a direction that I wasn't really keen on, and Steve Bruce had left, and so I was like, okay, this is probably not for me. I went on loan to Stoke, who were in the Premiership at the time, and stayed there for 6 months, and then the it was supposed to be that I was signed for Stoke, but I was on a free at the end of the season. So when the Stoke deal finished, then I knew I had quite a few options, and I ended up signing for Fulham, which was great. We went to the Europa League final, which was brilliant. So that was a real benefit for me, and How
long was the deal at Fulham?
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 years. So it was perfect, absolutely ideal for me. Back to London. I'd been in London from Tottenham when I was a kid, and I'd been in Brighton for 3 years, so it was great, and that worked well in my favour. But it's just some of those things that I think some players can make the most out of them at times, and the clubs obviously are going to lose out if they don't tie people down. Like with Hazard, they had to sell him now because they knew that next season he was going to be in a free and they were going to lose a commodity.
If you're Eden Hazard, though, do you not play that last year out at Chelsea and then cash in? Because the transfer fee is what you can walk in and say, I'm saving you 100 million.
You can try and demand, yeah.
I'm like, how much of that are you going to give me, lads?
Yeah. You could do, but then...
We don't see players do that a lot.
No, because players, they know that something could happen within that space of that year. What Hazard is going to... Like, I think Real Madrid still would have signed him if he'd injured, but if he had a bad injury towards the end of the season, the deal could have been less than what he was offered before. If they're chasing him and hounding him and he wants to play for them, he knows that he's going to get wherever, how many 100,000 a week, and it's not going to really be affected by whether you wait for a free transfer or not. It's not at that level, I don't think.
Yeah, okay, because we see this in the NBA where the players run down their contract and then they become completely powerful.
Yeah.
But like obviously you kind of have the absence of transfer fees and all that over there, and it's all based on the contract and actually kind of honouring that a little bit more. Like, I wouldn't be feeling too sorry for the players and the agents here in particular. I mean, they're making a pretty penny out of all of this. But it's interesting. Like, it's not a tactic that I don't think we do see that too much. I mean, like the probability of a huge career-ending injury is still actually quite small. Like, it happens, but it's quite a small thing.
Yeah, especially with the advances in, like, you don't see lads, like years ago people would do a cruciate ligament and that would be them. Now people come back from these injuries all the time and they don't seem to have the same issues that they would have going forward because it's not the crazy injections that people would have had. But it's still something that, you know, people don't like to take chance, and if there's an opportunity to go to a team now, then they will take that and they will go because they'll feel like it's just the right way about doing it and they feel better about themselves.
Yeah, okay. A couple of other quick ones. What's it like to be at a club and watch a big money signing struggle? You know, we've all seen transfer busts over the years. It tends to happen a lot at the mid-tier clubs who pay a little bit more maybe than they should for a player. He can't handle it, or maybe it wasn't enough research done on the character. Sasa Churchic.
The biggest one I had, remember Sergei Rebrov?
Yes, yes.
So he was the club
11 million, or?
Yeah, he was the club record at the time. Which sounds like absolute buttons now in comparison to it. But yeah, he was the club record at the time and came in and like around the training ground and player, he was excellent footballer, like technically brilliant, small little guy, aggressive, banging goals in training, but just didn't do it on the pitch, just never scored goals the way he should have, and he should have been he was a big signing for them, and it just never turned out the way it was. And then you could just see his confidence went, he was getting frustrated with himself, and the pressure was building, and being at Tottenham and White Hart Lane is this enclosed space, and it was not an easy place to play if the fans are a little bit, but they had high expectations of him. So it was that was the one I would have seen the most fail.
And was there anything that anybody could have done?
Not really. I think he'd come from Italy. Was it Italy he'd come from, or was it Ukraine? I can't remember. Was it Italy or Ukraine?
I'm not sure where he comes from directly.
I don't think anybody could have really helped him anymore. Like, the club would have done everything in their power to try and help him settle in, whether it be relocation and housing and all that sort of stuff. It was just, I think culturally it was different for him. He didn't really get the language that quickly. So he didn't pick up English, and that wouldn't have helped because he didn't really...
Came straight from Kiev.
Yeah, Kiev, there you go. He didn't really fit into the training ground. Not fit in, like he was a nice guy, but he wouldn't have been integrated into the team philosophy and probably gone for dinner with the lads and stuff like that. It just wasn't him, and he kind of kept himself, so that made it a bit more difficult, I think.
Yeah, okay. All right, we wanted to talk about Trapattoni's kids. These are the Irish players who played under Giovanni Trapattoni, who are now part of various coaching tickets. So we've got Shay Given, part of Cuckoo's coaching ticket at Derby. John O'Shea, Reading first team coach. Richard Dunn, working with the Ireland under-16s. Sean St. Ledger, working with the Ireland under-15s. Kevin Kilban, media personality, who did of course coach for that 1 year at Hull. Liam Lawrence, media personality. Glenn Whelan, obviously started Ireland's most recent competitive international, currently without a club, released by Villa at the start of the summer. Keith Andrews, part of the under-21 coaching staff at the moment. Damien Duff, first team coach at Celtic. Robbie Keane, Irish assistant national coach and part of the Middlesbrough coaching ticket with Jonathan Woodgate, and Kevin Doyle working with the Ireland 17s. Is this a coincidence? Is it just...
No, we actually, so majority of the lads here, we all did our coaching badges together while we were still involved with Ireland.
Right.
So there was about a group of about 12 of us that the FAA approached and said, would you like to kind of do your coaching badges while you're still playing?
Right, in Dublin.
So we'd come back in the summertime. So after we had a couple of qualifiers, and after qualifiers we had like a block of like a week or so where we did like intense coaching courses, and then throughout the season you'd be coaching at your club. So all of us did them. We all got A licence, and
right.
it was really good. So a couple of lads are going on now to start. They're starting the pro licence now. So it was a thought process that all the lads, they wanted to offer something. So because I think the FAI wanted to bring the players that were finishing back into the system as quick as they could to get the experience they would have playing directly back onto the pitch.
Whose idea was it? I
think we started talking about it first, and I think Alan Kelly was the one that was kind of, he basically said to all, I honestly think that if you can do it while you're still playing, it's much better, because after you finish, it's harder to kind of get the motivation to want to do it. So while you're playing, and if you're doing it with a group of players that are all on the same level, whereas if you go and do your coaching badges now, you could go and do it with a bunch of people that have never kicked the ball, and not that makes a difference. They could all be very good coaches, but they're to be on a different wavelength to you in a sense of what you've seen around the training ground, the managers you've worked with.
Better to be in class with your mates.
Yeah, exactly. So the people you know, and you can bounce off with your own ideas. So that was the concept. And then when they were able to put together their program for us, it went really well. I loved it. I really enjoyed it, and it's like I said, all the guys are reaping the benefits from it now because they're going on to pick up good roles.
Would you be interested in something like what the Kevin Doyle, Sean St. Ledger, Richard Dunn are doing?
I've had conversations with the FAI about doing that, and it wasn't right at the time for me. I was still playing, and it didn't lend itself with the time period. And then since I've retired, I've had opportunities in media, and I've really enjoyed them. So I've kind of just thought I'm going to focus on this now, and this is the area that I want to kind of pursue. But it's something that I've always enjoyed, and it's different, because I think if you're coaching, like the lads with the underage teams are only in for a couple of weeks at a time, and that's different. They're just dipping their foot in, so they're just trying to get a feel for it. The lads now that are full-time roles at clubs, that changes, because you're then being like a player again. You're in a position where you have to move home, you have to move your family, you have to move everybody, and then as a coach it's a lot less forgiving. So within a few months you could be in a position where you're gone from that team and you have to move somewhere else. And so for me, at this moment in my life, with 2 young children and my wife, I want to be settled and happy. I don't want to have to be moving around the country and feeling that I don't have control over what I'm doing, basically.
And it's far worse than being a player, because you guys get to go home and are told to sit down, relax, rest up. The coaches are watching tape,
it's much more intense. Like I said, you're in earlier, you're finished later. Everything you're doing is geared around the team. So, I don't think you would leave it at, not that you leave football at the training ground, but there's a sense where when you walk off the pitch, you can kind of not forget about it, but you can come home and enjoy your life. Whereas as a coach, you're going to bring everything back. You're going to be concentrating, thinking, should I have done that? Should I have done this? Is it, maybe, and you're probably making phone calls at home, just discussing tactics with your other coaches. And like I said, the chance, like as a player, if you have a 4-year contract, you can guarantee that you can stay at that club for 4 years if you want to. Like the club can do what they want to try and get rid of you, or if you want to go. But if you wanted to stay there for 4 years, you're there for 4 years, so you can be settled.
Yeah.
Like I said, as coach, you could be sacked within a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
The list is called Traps Kids. Which one of those future and current coaches is most likely to have the same philosophy as Giovanni Trapattoni?
Same philosophy.
The result is all that matters. Doesn't matter how we play.
You know what? I don't think anybody will have that.
Really?
No.
He turned them all off so badly.
I don't know if he turned them off. I think he'll definitely, the winning mentality that he has would be instilled in all these players and coaches, because he wanted to win and he knew how to win. But I think what he tried to do was, if you look at Trapattoni, the teams he coached before, I don't think he would have played the same way we played.
Sure.
I think he looked at the squad we had, and like I said, it's a very talented squad, and probably one of the most talented we've had for a long time. But he just thought this was the best way to get results out of this team. So, it was a strict 4-4-2. As a fullback, you were restricted to how far you went up the pitch. You were linked, allowed to join in and show support from behind, but like you weren't encouraged to go flying forward and bomb on and vacate spaces. It was all about containing teams, and it worked well because we qualified for a major tournament. We came close to qualifying for a World Cup. So, the lads would definitely have taken bits out of what he's done, and his intensity on the sidelines and his passion for it was evident. Like he was a 7-year-old man, and he was so passionate about what he did and how he conducted himself. But in philosophy-wise, I don't think there'd be a single player there that won't be trying to play out from the back and do the way football people want to see football now. They want to see free-flowing passing football. Everybody wants to see people play like Barcelona, which is not going to be the case, but they'll try and achieve as close to that as possible with the teams that they're at.
Did you learn anything from Trapattoni?
Personally, as a player, I would have learned a few things from him. Like he had this obsession with double marking, he used to call it, so basically doubling up on somebody. It's not something you learn, but it was just something that he would have really, really focused the whole time. So he really wanted the fullback and the winger to make sure that if the winger, like it was tougher for the winger because they always had to get back to help you with your man. But it was just more of it was a concept that he wanted to, every time that their winger had the ball, he wanted to have the two players around them. And I'd never seen it done that intensely before. Most teams would encourage it, but he wouldn't. He demanded it every time.
Right. So that was kind of
it's just basing it. But like I said, when it comes to learning, as an international manager, because you spend so little time with them, they're not going to influence your playing ability, and they're not going to coach you to be a much better player. They've got you for 2 weeks, and they just want to try and get you to play a position that they want and do the best for that short space of time as they possibly can. So it's harder. You're going to be more influenced by the managers that have you day to day.
Do you think any of those guys are going to go on to manage Ireland?
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that some of those lads will go on to manage Ireland. Like obviously Robbie is the front runner at the moment, considering how close he is to it already. But then Damien's a quiet one, and he's kind of gone under the radar a little bit, a bit of coaching underage with like Rovers, and then now he's in Celtic, and he's kind of moved up the ladder Celtic quite quickly.
Yeah.
Keith, Keith, he's been here quite a bit, and Keith is into his coaching. He's liked it. He's obviously done extremely well on the media side of things, but he's intense, and in the coaching badges, he was very good at what he did. I think any of the lads here have got the capability to do it. It's just whether they get those opportunities. And I think now, though, there's a big trend with giving players that are just finished football to give them coaching roles, because they're looking to get a quick turnover, like you'd see with Gerrard, and obviously Lampard has taken over Chelsea, which is unbelievable. But those players seem to be given roles in teams very quickly, whereas before you wouldn't have seen it happen.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good stuff, Stephen. That's the Trapattoni's Kids part of the show done. It is 8:42 this morning on OTB AM. Gregor Paul of the New Zealand Herald is up next to talk to us about the All Blacks. First, here's Ronan O'Gara on last night's show talking about one of his first tasks as La Rochelle coach, taking the team to a military boot camp.
It was good in the fact that fellas are put in positions where they're uncomfortable and they're vulnerable, and you don't really sometimes get that on high ropes, for example. An exercise I wouldn't be too familiar with, but I suppose when you're 300 feet above something and you obviously have a rope that connects you, but it's not your normal behaviour, or your normal routine. So you're put outside your comfort zone. People react differently, and it's, I suppose, trying to just create scenarios of high pressure which potentially may benefit you late into a game. But sometimes it's difficult to see the correlation, Joe. But if you get 1% out of it, it does make a difference, I feel.
How much of a break have you had then from Crusaders to rocking up at La Rochelle?
I had a few good nights out in Canterbury. But that was just... That's how you play, get involved. We had a Monday and Tuesday, and flew on the Wednesday, and back to Paris, cleared out the house and moved some of it to Cork and some of it to La Rochelle, and families in Cork for a few weeks, and then come down here for school.
Yeah, that's Ronan O'Gara speaking with Joe last night. You can get that full interview on YouTube, of course, but you can also subscribe to our podcast. The best place to do that is the Go Loud app, which is also the best place to listen to OTB Sports Radio, which is our 24-hour sports radio station. Let's move on. We want to talk more rugby. It's Gregor Paul talking about the All Blacks performance and just the level of pressure that's ramping up, as it always does, on the All Blacks in a World Cup year. Good morning to you, Gregor. Good evening to you.
Good morning, how are you?
Yeah, pretty good. The performance at the weekend, a draw against the Springboks, not entirely surprising to people who've been watching the quality of play that the Springboks have been put together over the last 12 months. But I don't want to talk too much about them today because we'll focus on them next week. But was it surprising to the general rugby public in New Zealand that they were getting caught at home by the Springboks?
Well, not really. I mean, the Springboks beat them on the same ground last year. Don't forget that. And the last few games they've had against the Springboks has been, it's been a point in it either way to both teams. So look, everybody knew the Springboks were going to be a very difficult team, but you've got to take a step back here and say that the All Blacks are building very much with the World Cup in mind at the moment, and they've been quite open and said, look, if we don't win the Rugby Championship and if we lose a few tests, it's not the end of the world. There'll be a different proposition this week coming when they play the Bledisloe Cup, because they've said that does matter, and those are 2 test matches that they do want to win. But look, they're on a plan here to arrive in Japan. I mean, the big goal, obviously, for everybody this year is to win the World Cup. So you shouldn't nobody should really get caught up judging them too harshly at this stage, because what they're trying to do is build a game plan and learn a little bit about a few players. They haven't sorted out, who's all going to be on the plane at the moment to Japan. So they've got a bit of that to do, and they're trying to build a game, and they're also trying to keep a few things up their sleeves as well. So it's quite a complex picture, and the fact that they drew is probably not that big a surprise. Okay.
In terms of the debate about who's going to be on the plane, are there significant questions at this point, or is it like a few fringe players on the edges? Do you think that there's still time for somebody to play their way into the team, for example, who people might not have thought would even be in the squad 3-6 months ago?
Well, no, there won't be anyone from outside. They started off with 39 a few weeks back, and they've culled that today down to, I think they knocked 5 off that today. They've also got Ryan Crotty injured, who'll presumably almost certainly come back in as well. So, there's no real opportunity for a wild card to come in here. And with the All Blacks, it's never a kind of shock horror moment. You're down to. It's really about how they want to balance the squad. Is really what it's down to. And the challenge with the All Blacks is not trying to find 31 players to put in there. They've probably got 40 guys that are good enough to go to the World Cup, and have all played tests and are all worthy of going. But they need to cull it down to 31. And it's really just how do they want to set their squad up when they get to Japan, and we don't really know the answer to that yet. I don't think they do either.
In your sense then, in your opinion, come their first game of the World Cup against the Springboks on the second day of the World Cup this year, who's going to be the starting out half for the All Blacks?
Well, look, good question. If I had to gamble everything on it, I'd say Richie Mo'unga. I think the way they set themselves up against the Boks is probably how they want to play. I think when they played Ireland and England last year, you saw a wee bit where they had they want to play with 2 fly halves on the field, one at full back and one at fly half, obviously. They were able to do that last year with Damien McKenzie, but he is injured. He won't be going to the World Cup. He's badly injured. So the only way they can do that now is to play Mo'unga at 10, and Barrett, who is a natural fullback, and he's just a naturally gifted player, and he's played there before. And that's probably what they're going to do. I mean, it's not that unusual because those two, when they played Ireland last year, you saw Barrett drop to fullback for the final 20 minutes or whatever it was, and Mo'unga come on. I think they're just taking the view now that they want to have their best players on the field for the full 80 minutes, and I think that they feel that if they're going to beat these rush defences that they're going to come up against, they need two decision makers, two kickers, 2 fly halves that can sort of interchange and keep making good decisions as the game flows.
Is that the whole point of this Rugby Championship then, to bed in that system? I know you're talking about keeping some stuff in reserve so that you don't show your full hand just now, but that's a very difficult balancing act, as you pointed out, because you want the team to become super proficient in the style of play you want them to do, as opposed to experiencing what it's like in test conditions for the very first time in a World Cup semi-final, quarter-final, final.
Yeah, no, you're quite right. It's a difficult balancing act, and the time is against them a wee bit, because they need enough time that they can get used to what they're trying to do and build it and become quite good at it. But they also don't really want everyone to work out what they're going to be taking when they arrive in Japan. So they want there to be a bit of an element of surprise or they don't want everyone to know quite what they're doing and be able to adjust to what it is that they're doing. So they've got to kind of time it quite. It's quite tricky. But look, I think we saw when they played in the Northern Hemisphere last year, and from probably go back further to when the Lions beat them here, and drew the series, that rush defence, teams that get off the line really quickly and blitz them and cut down their space, have had an awful lot of success at doing it. And the All Blacks have struggled quite badly. They struggled in Dublin last year when Ireland did it to them. They struggled at Twickenham when the English did it to them. So they've known what's going to be coming. And I think every team, we saw it in the Six Nations as well, the quality and speed of defence, and South Africa are very good at it as well. It's intense. And everybody's put a lot of time and effort into building these defensive walls. And the All Blacks have said, right, well, we need a few tricks up our sleeve. We want to use our attacking prowess. We've got Barrett, we've got Mwanga, we've got Sonny Bill Williams, Ben Smith, Jack Goodhue. We've got all these guys that can play, but they can't play if they're just being swarmed by defence. So we need to find a way that we can, throw a few tricks into it and start unsettling teams that rush at us. Because I think the thing with the rush defence, it's brilliant when it works, but if you can find a way through it, it becomes quite fragile quite quickly. And I think that's what the All Blacks are doing. They're trying to unleash an attack game. They've reworked all their patterns, all their ways of doing things. We haven't quite seen it yet because the game against South Africa just didn't really flow for that to happen. But I think we're going to see them build this kind of multi-phase attack game over the next couple of weeks.
Knowing what's coming then and being able to counteract that rush defence, would that give you the confidence that, say, if a World Cup quarter-final between New Zealand and Ireland, for example, happened, that the All Blacks would be in a far better position to swat Ireland aside?
Well, I think that's what they're hoping. That's clearly what the All Blacks are hoping, because I think the last 2 or 3 times that they've played Ireland, Ireland won 2, and the other one in Dublin in 2016 was an incredibly tight game as well. So, look, I think they know that they need to be more creative and more dynamic in the way that they attack. They need to find a way to avoid being swamped the way that Ireland have done it so effectively. Now, whether they've hit the right notes, whether they've got the right buttons, whether they, we haven't really seen it yet. We don't quite know what they're trying to do, but clearly that's what they need to do. They need to, if they do play Ireland in the quarterfinal, they need to be confident within themselves that they've got a range of ways to start bending and buckling that defence. And previously, what's kind of happened, and I think anyone that watched the games, the last 2 games against Ireland, the ball kind of came to Barrett, and they said, "Do something." And he had 100 Irishmen jumping on him, and he couldn't really do a great deal. He didn't get a lot of support, and the All Blacks, particularly last year, I think were a wee bit predictable in the way that they were trying to attack. And Ireland just seemed to know where they were going and what they were doing, and they weren't really too bothered by anything that the All Blacks threw at them. New Zealand didn't really have anything to unlock that defence. They didn't stress them, they didn't bend them, they didn't go through them, they didn't create a lot. So that clearly needs to reverse if New Zealand are going to progress in a quarter-final against Ireland.
Is there a possibility that they don't make the quarter-final against Ireland, that actually the Springboks come out top of that group?
Oh, for sure.
That's what I mean.
I think that's probably, I think everybody will be watching that game, because it's going to have a huge bearing on the whole makeup of the World Cup. I mean, clearly, all due respect to the rest of whoever's in New Zealand and South Africa's pool, but those two are going to finish 1 and 2. Whichever way round it is, we don't really know. But clearly the All Blacks are aware, as is everybody, that playing South Africa first up is a huge game. And given the way the last 2, 3, 4 games between those two have gone, it's very difficult to know who will come out of that on top. But there's a real possibility, clearly, that South Africa win that.
Because it seems to me as if at the moment there are tiers developing, and that there are 2 teams really in the top tier, and that is those 2 teams that South Africa under Rassie Erasmus have had a quantum leap forward in the last 18 months. They've got all their best players back. They've got a style of play that is tapping into the great traditions of South African rugby, but is actually a modernised version of it. And that them and the All Blacks are significantly ahead, I would say, of England, Ireland and whoever else is in that second tier at the moment. Wales?
I don't know if they're significantly ahead. I think when they both play well, they're very, very difficult to beat. There's no doubt about that. But look, Ireland are very difficult to beat when they play well, as are England. I think a huge factor that we haven't seen in the last, because you can't see it until you go to a World Cup, and dare I say it, but it comes down to that ability to deal with the pressure. Because a World Cup is different, isn't it, to a one-off Test match in the autumn. As Ireland have done particularly well at beating the All Blacks on those occasions. But you take it to a neutral ground. You put the pressure of knowing that it's do or die. If you don't win this game, you're going home type thing. That creates a whole different set of circumstances that these players don't get to experience often. And we've seen some unusual results. I mean, I'm speaking to an Irishman here. You know what that's like, because Ireland have struggled in the past on those very occasions. Last World Cup, Argentina surprised you with the way that they played, and there we saw the effects of pressure probably on what happened in that game. So it's quite difficult to tell. I mean, you could kind of argue that on the day New Zealand and South Africa looked like they might be. Maybe a little step ahead of the best of the Northern Hemisphere, but we've got to throw in the impact of pressure. We've got to throw in neutral grounds. We've got to throw in the fact that everybody's trying to peak at the same time. We don't normally get to see that in the inter-hemisphere clashes. We don't get them all. New Zealand go up to the Northern Hemisphere a wee bit tired. Ireland come down here a wee bit tired. It's not a fair contest often. So you've got to throw in all these factors. So that's why I'm not entirely sure if I would agree that New Zealand and South Africa are genuinely a step ahead of everyone else.
I presume Ireland is everybody in New Zealand's second team, given the Joe Schmidt factor and all that.
There'll be a few rooting for Scotland, I would have thought, over here. But look, I think New Zealand, if your question is more aligned, I think if New Zealand had a choice between the way the World Cup's set up, twinned with Pool A, I think they would probably be quite comfortable playing Scotland. They'd be a lot happier in that regard if they end up playing the Scots in the quarter-final. I mean, I guess if you're going to win the World Cup, you just take if you end up playing Ireland, you end up playing them. You have to win the World Cup. But probably Ireland would be the team in Pool A that New Zealand would go. If we could avoid that, that would probably be quite helpful.
Yeah, for sure. You talked about the pressure. Obviously, there was a massive national inquiry into why the All Blacks couldn't, a bit like Ireland, actually win this thing until they did eventually manage to win it. It took the 4-year long night of the soul from and keeping faith with Graham Henry to get them over the line. Is that pressure gone? Is that completely forever banished for teams that are trying to win the Rugby World Cup for New Zealand now that they've done it twice? Or is it back?
I don't know if it's... Well, the thing you've got to understand about the All Blacks is it never goes away. And probably the breakthrough moment that they've made is that they've actually realised that a World Cup for them isn't any different to any other day of the week. And I don't mean to be flippant about that, but when you're the All Blacks, you have the pressure is never off you. So they could be playing Canada in a June Test match, and the pressure's on them. They've got this legacy they have to live up to. They've got a nation that expects them to beat, whether it's Georgia, Namibia, Canada, Italy, South Africa, Ireland, or England. It doesn't make any difference. Everybody has an expectation that they are going to win. They are national role models. They're front, left, centre in the media agenda. They can't walk down the street without anyone knowing them. So that is their life. And when they went to the 2015 World Cup, they thought, hang on a minute. This is actually quite good for us because the pressure ramps up at a World Cup, but we're already at maximum. It doesn't really change for us. And for the first time, you get this whole reversal of pressure going on to the other teams that they've realised. So all of a sudden, when they go to Ireland in November, the pressure's on the All Blacks, and it's not really on Ireland. Ireland can build to that one game. And if they beat the All Blacks, they've had a great season. But the World Cup's different because the pressure comes back on Ireland and says, can you win 7 games? And you're in the public scrutiny the way that you're not normally. And the whole nation expects you. You can't play the underdog card. You're going there to win it. So the pressure comes back on teams like Ireland and Wales and England who don't, well, maybe England do, but who don't quite live under it the way that they do. So I think they've come to realise that pressure is what they live under and that they're quite capable of dealing with it because it's what they do all the time without necessarily realising that they're living with it all the time.
Yeah. All right. Gregor, great stuff. Always great to have you on the show. Thanks a million for making the time for us this evening.
My pleasure. Thanks very much.
That's Gregor Paul there. giving us the insight into New Zealand. Obviously, I screwed up that question. What I meant was, is there a good chance that New Zealand do end up playing Ireland because the Springboks beat them? And that would mean we still finish top of the group. I shouldn't blah, blah, blah that away either.
I've, thought about this a lot. We've spoken about this at length, the permutation, the South Africa or New Zealand permutation, which has really gone on a journey over the last, as you said, 18 months. That really...
Because 18 months ago, it was like Springboks. Before Razzie arrived, they were a rabble. And you were thinking, great, we're going to get that team and we're going to beat them up in the quarterfinal and we'll cruise through to a semis. And now it's like, oh, we're not going to be playing them in the quarters, we're going to be playing the All Blacks. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, like this Ireland team hasn't got their hands on this South Africa team. The last time we played South Africa, they were, as you say, a complete rabble. So we just don't know that. You'd almost look at what happened last weekend. What was it, last 3 to last 4 or something? New Zealand have failed to beat the Springboks at this point, so there isn't a whole pile of difference. It is just the aura of the World Cup quarter-final and never having won one of them, allied with the fact that you're up against the All Blacks. Yeah. Like, I do think that the pressure might just be a little bit less against the Springboks, but it's still a bloody high thing. No matter who, if they played Canada in a World Cup quarter-final,
we kill Canada. We should be looking forward to it. If it's the All Blacks, you've got nothing to lose. Everybody expects you to lose anyway, so you may as well go out there and get that monkey off your back and also win a World Cup quarter-final.
Like you just said, the pressure's always on them. Well, to some extent.
Yeah, well, certainly they'd be 7 to 10 point favourites against us. So, all right, we want to move on back to the Galway races. We were in the Prospect Hill Paddy Power shop yesterday. And also on Monday for Ruby versus Punter. This is where anybody in a Paddy Power shop can go up against the tipster, that is Ruby, and also up against Joe Walsh, who is the nominated tipster on behalf of the Prospect Hill branch of Paddy Power in Galway. It's their flagship store in Galway. And so far it's been a bit of a whitewash because Ruby is in the form of his life. On Monday he tipped Great White Shark at 28 to 1. Yesterday he was on Salt on Stall, which romped home in the 740 at 10 to 1. Ruby, you're on a hot streak.
Absolutely flying, but as I say, you should quit while you're ahead, Jar. So if I could gracefully bow out now, I would.
I think the competition is over anyway. But I don't know. I think you got to ride a hot streak. That's the casino logic in it.
Is it?
What did you make?
Any time I was in a casino and got a hot streak like that, I walked away from the table.
Well, that was wise. That was definitely wise.
Yeah.
Come here. What did you make of yesterday's racing? Because it looked like it was a great day.
It was a great day. I was obviously there for lunch, actually, or dinner as it was, because it was an evening meeting. But it was very it was competitive racing. 0-10 was a very impressive winner, so was Fast Book. But it was good racing, yeah. Yeah,
we were talking earlier on with John Duggan, and he was making the point that Aidan O'Brien, Donegal yesterday was talking after his victory, saying, look, this is a very nice horse, that Aidan O'Brien is sending very good horses to Galway now, some of whom are actually going on and winning classics as well. That helps.
They are, but Dermot Weld has done that for years gone by. I mean, Galway, the actual sod in Galway is in amazing condition. The amount of grass that's on the track and the condition of the track is amazing. So there's no reason why you wouldn't send a good horse there. Like, and you'll see that today in the Galway Plate with the quality of horse that's running. You'll see it tomorrow in the Galway Hurdle and again on Friday in the Big Guinness Handicap. But like, it's the actual... And it probably goes unsaid, or they're probably the unsung heroes, but the ground staff in Galway are amazing. They have the track in condition. I wouldn't think there's football pitches as well kept as Galway Racecourse.
Did you enjoy the whole festival environment around Galway, or is it a distraction from the racing in any way when you're actually in the white heat of the competition?
I enjoyed it, but I always enjoyed riding in front of a crowd. You spend most of the year riding in front of 1,800 or 2,000 people, so when you get the odd chance to ride in front of 25, 30, 40, probably 45,000 tomorrow, I enjoyed that.
And does it raise your own game? Does it just feel like it's a bigger occasion?
Probably. I don't know, some people feed off atmosphere, some people don't like it. I actually loved it. The bigger the crowd, the more it built you up, and the more excited it was, the more sense of achievement. I always enjoyed it anyway.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about today's racing before we get your bet for the day. What do you think is going to happen in the big race today?
I think the big race is very competitive. I think, without doubt, the top horse, Black Curtain, is the class horse in the race. But the Galway Plate, because it starts in the home straight, sort of on the crest of the hill, you can't actually see the first fence. So you race up the hill past the winning post, and then you descend down to the first fence. So when you're lining up at the start, You can't see the first jump. It's almost 2 furlongs away, and position is very important in Galway. So it's an absolute cavalry charge for the first furlong and a half to try and get your position. So the guys on the fastest horses have an advantage. They will go lickety split up the hill in Galway to the first fence in the plate, and those with a bit of speed can get into the right positions. I don't know, does Black Carton have that blister and early pace to get into position? But if Bryony Frost can get him in a position, he could take a lot of pegging back.
That's interesting, because we were obviously on the track yesterday. It was the first time I ever actually got a chance to kind of see the extent of the hill, and you can never tell from TV just how serious the hill is. You hear people talking about it and not being able to see the actual fence itself. So you begin to understand exactly how important getting into position is. Is that something that you can only really learn through experience, or can the young jockeys who are, you know, in their first or second Galway Festival, can they be told that in advance, say, look, you need to get out there and do this, or do you actually have to just experience that, Ruby?
No, of course you should learn from doing your homework. It's the same as in every other sport. You watch replays of previous Galway plates, of previous races, run over that distance around Galway, and you figure out where the majority of the winners come from. That's like studying the opposition from football, rugby, soccer. In racing, you look at replays and you figure out where the winners have come from in a general sense, where you need to be to win a race, how races are run year on year. So that's when you're doing your homework, Jar. Yeah, with experience, you'd have ridden in those races and you can remember them. But if you're worth your salt as a teenager or a 20-year-old, you do your homework. And I mean, it's much easier to do that now with the internet. When I was a kid, you had to traipse through VCRs to try and do it. I mean, they've no excuse not to have the homework done.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, what is your bet for today?
I'm going to have 50 each way on Move with the Times in the Galway plate. I was going to do a double on the first and third race, but they're simply too short and we won't make any money for charity. So we'll have 50 each way on Move with the Times, who's 11-1 with Paddy Powers at the moment. But I'm sure Paddy will give us 13s, will he?
He's not with us at the moment, but we can verify that afterwards.
That's why he's giving us 13s. He's not there to say no.
Grand, we can verify that with Paddy a little bit later on. But 11-1 at the minute, 13-1 for you, Ruby. I'm gonna take the executive decision and say he will definitely give it to you, and if he doesn't, he can text us afterwards.
We'll just abuse him if he doesn't give it to us.
Fair enough. We'll tell him you told us to. That's perfect. Ruby, good stuff. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks a million.
Any of you going to Japan, lads? No. Discussing the World Cup there, flat out.
Definitely, yes. One and potentially two of us at some point. Are you going?
Don't think so. No, I'd love to go. It's a great country. I was there. I rode there twice actually. It's a fabulous place, but it'll be interesting, won't it?
You won the national over there.
I won, the Grand Nakayama. It's a big city just outside Tokyo. But I really enjoyed my time in Japan, and I'm looking forward to the World Cup.
Well, here's the thing: the benefits of being retired now is, maybe you'll be able to swing a trip. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
Off the ball can send you.
I doubt it.
Ruby, good stuff. We'll talk to you again.
Good luck.
Also with us this morning is Joe Walsh, who is the punter in Ruby versus Punter. Joe, how are you doing? Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very good. You had a tricky day yesterday.
Yeah, tricky day. They're running well, but just not getting home.
So yesterday you'd backed
Marshall Jennings and Sharp Focus. Sharp Focus finished third. Marshall Jennings was unlucky, finished fifth at 33-1. I thought I was going to be in the frame.
Yeah, Marshall Jennings ran really, really well and just got caught at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought turning in he'd nearly win, but he didn't see out the trip.
Okay, so that was Marshall Jennings and Sharp Focus. Ruby had an amazing day. Obviously, Paddy supercharged his odds yesterday, so he's up 1,825 in 2 days. It's not bad.
That's easy pull back. We have 5 days left yet.
We do have 5 days left, yeah.
So listen, 5 days left yet.
What's your tip today?
I like a horse belonging to Tom Mullins in the 6:10 today. I've been following him for a while. A horse called Bercassa. He's around the 10-12-1 mark.
Okay, Bercassa.
I think he'll go very well. And funny enough, I fancy a horse that I seen running in Killarney a couple of weeks ago, belonging to William Mullins. He's running on a horse called Prava Laguna. Hello?
Okay, Prava Laguna.
Yeah, Prava Laguna, yeah. He's around the 14-1 mark.
Okay, and what's he running in?
He's running in the Galway plate.
Okay, in the plate. And Are these your bets for today for us?
They're my two bets for today, and then I'll give you the rest of the cards.
Well,
25 each way in Barcassa.
Yeah.
And that's around 10-12 to 1. And Prava Laguna is around 10-12 to 1 as well.
And that's the other 25 each way?
That's the other 25 each way.
Okay, good stuff. We don't need to go through the whole card today because we're going to go through those tips through the card with John Duggan in a little while. So
that's okay, that's good, that's fine.
So Barcassa and Prava Laguna are your two to try and close the gap on Ruby, who's doing quite well.
Close the gap on Ruby today, and by tomorrow we should have it closed a little bit.
Well, that would be great. Joe, best of luck with that. Thanks a million.
Okay, God bless, bye-bye. Bye.
That's Joe Walsh there, who is the punter in Ruby versus Punter. And if you want to go into your local Paddy Power shop, you can partake in this as well. There's leaderboards behind the counters in all of them, and particularly in the Prospect Hill one in Galway City. So Prava Laguna around about 13 to 1 on the Galway plate, and Barcassa was what the other one was there. We're going to be back with Will O'Callaghan and John Duggan after these.
Placing a bet during the Galway Festival? Then look no further than Bruce Betting. New Irish accounts can enjoy a risk-free first bet up to €100. So if your first bet loses, we'll refund your stake with a free bet. Now that's giving you more. Bruce Betting. In-store, online and now on your phone. Please gamble responsibly. See gamblingcare.ie.
So we're very fortunate to have that gym has always had an open door policy. A lot of a number of lads have even at the start of this year I went on extended break. Paul went off to China for a while, and Jack went off to Africa for a while. A number of different lads have gone off and done things in their life, and I suppose that's brilliant that gym has that open door policy. If lads are performing then with their club, they're more than welcome to come back into the team and help the group as best they can to be the best that they can be. And so we're just delighted to have Dermot back in the group, who's been a massive leader for us for the last 10 years, and it's a really special talent. So to have him even around the group has been really good over the last couple of weeks. It has really energised the whole group,
He's playing great with Finnies at the moment, but stepping up to inter-county level is another thing altogether. Can he be as good now as he was 2 or 3 years ago playing for Dublin?
He's in phenomenal shape anyway, and it's great to have him in around the group. So he's performing really well with the club. So we'll just have to wait and see, I suppose.
It's Kieran Kilkenny there in conversation with Steve-O. Will O'Callaghan's joined us. Will, how are you doing?
Hey, morning lads, how are things?
We're going to get to John Duggan in a minute. What's the crack?
Well, Dundalk are in Baku this evening, Ger, hoping to make the third qualifying round of the Champions League. They're tied at a goal apiece against Qarabag ahead of the second leg of their second qualifying round tie. Lily White's defender Sean Gannon has told Dundalk FC TV that they're determined to advance.
They're a really good side, and they're going to be right at it tomorrow. They're at home. The emphasis probably will be on them as the home team, but we're coming here quietly confident in ourselves. We're a good team, and we're a match for anyone. I think last week proved that we can create chances and score goals, and probably unlucky not to have another couple of goals coming over. But I think the tie is nicely balanced, and we're over here to go through. We want to go through. We know we need to score, but we've been in that position in the past. So I think obviously that it's going to be a tough game, but we're more than capable of going through.
Kick-off in Azerbaijan is at 6 p.m. The winners will face Apoel Nicosia in the next round. Celtic already into round 3. They'll face the Romanian champions Cluj. A 2-0 win away to Nomia Kalju secured a 7-0 aggregate victory for Neil Lennon's side. The Hoops boss is particularly happy with how his summer signings have been settling in at Parkhead.
Got a great goal early on, and that really sort of set the tone for the rest of the game with good control. Scored a great goal at the end. I thought we could have had a few more, but I can't ask any more what the players are giving me at the minute. So the depth of the squad is looking a lot better. Obviously we rested some important players, and we give the likes of obviously Christopher got his debut, and Lewis Morgan had another good run out. I thought Ncham was outstanding tonight. Tony Ralston had a competent game, and obviously Craig getting 90 minutes as well. So it gives everyone that sort of confidence and motivation going forward now.
The Tottenham manager Mauricio Pochettino, meanwhile, insists his job title should be changing at the club. He's frustrated at a lack of input into transfers, which are being handled directly by the chairman Daniel Levy. Pochettino insists he has no idea about the comings and goings at the club.
Maybe the club need to change my title description now, because my job now is to coach the team. No, I don't know. It's not a question for me. It's a question for the club. But maybe they is going to change my title description. But that is not in. And of course, like I told you before, I am not in charge about the individual situation, and of course, I am the boss, designing the strategy to play, to training, to the methodology, the philosophy in my area. But in another area, I am today. I think I am the coach.
Jill Ellis is set to step down as the manager of the US women's soccer team after winning 2 World Cups, most recently this month's tournament in France. She will step down in October after friendlies against the Republic of Ireland and Portugal, and the 52-year-old will continue as an ambassador. World lightweight champion Kelly Harrington will miss next month's European Boxing Championships with a hand injury. IABA high performance coach Bernard Dunn has confirmed the Dubliner will miss the tournament as she's still recovering from a thumb injury which was sustained at the European Games. Harrington had to sit out the final in Minsk last month with the issue, and Dunn says they don't want to aggravate that injury ahead of the Worlds later this year. The Galway Plate is the feature on day 3 of the Galway Festival. Trainer Peter Fahy is delighted with Peregrine Runs running ahead of today's big race at 7:20.
Kevin got on him the first day, he won with him, and he's kept winning. Long way to continue with him. You're not going to get good to firm ground like it in Galway. If it's good to yielding ground, he'll run. It's a type of race, you have to stay in it. He ran in it before last year, he didn't perform, but the ground went soft and we shouldn't have ran him. He won't run unless the ground is safe, and to be honest, looking down through it, I think he'd have a great chance. He's in great form, he's improved from each race, and even from his last run over hurdles, he's improved again. I couldn't be any happier with him going into it, so you'd be hoping for a big run.
The 7-race card at Ballybrick getting underway at 5:10 this evening. Almost half of next year's Division 2 sides in the Alliance Football League will have new managers in place. It's after John Sugar, who stepped down as manager of newly promoted Laois after 2 years in charge. The Kerry native led the O'Moores to successive promotions from Division 4 to Division 2, and they also competed in last year's Leinster final as well. Kildare, Fermanagh and now Laois are all on the hunt for new football managers. The Mayo football boss James Horn has been handed a double fitness boost ahead of Saturday's Crunch Super 8's clash with Donegal at Castlebar. Keith Higgins and Paddy Durkin are both in line to return from injury for the Westerners. Captain Dermot O'Connor has also stepped up his recovery from a fractured wrist, but he's unlikely to be involved this weekend. And South African middle distance runner Caster Semenya has expressed disappointment over a court ruling which means she'll have to be prevented now from defending her 800 metres title at the World Athletics Championships next month. The Swiss Supreme Court has reversed a ruling that suspended a regulation which was imposed by the sports governing body, the IAAF, regarding testosterone levels pending Semenya's appeal. The ruling effectively means she would now be obliged to take hormone-reducing medication, something she has resolutely refused to consider in order to compete.
All right, Will, good stuff. Thanks for that. We've got John Duggan with us now from Galway to talk us through today's card. John, how you doing? How's it going?
Lads, great. Yourselves?
Yeah, pretty good. We've just had Ruby on there, and he is...
going for the hat-trick.
Yes. I mean, you know, he move with the times is what he thinks is going to win the Galway Plate today.
Yeah, interesting. Right down, I think, the bottom of the handicap move at the time. So, look, Ruby's had an amazing run, 25-1 and 8-1. Like, what an incredible tipping. So maybe, you know, his new career will be in that field. You know, it's just something else. He's some man for a judge. He's some man as a judge, as a jockey, and also to judge other horses. I always remember when he was a jockey, like I always thought he was a great judge of other horses.
What do you think is going to happen in the Galway Plate?
Look, it's 22 runners. You know, you'll need to get a position as a jockey. There could be falls, there could be accidents, there could be horses brought down. You're just hoping that the horses will be safe, because it is, you know, a bit of a charge of the light brigade. So I generally have found that in the Galway Plate, that horses that run up with the pace can front run, and then maybe a jockey can get a breather and then go again up the hill, because this it's a really stiff finish, as you would have seen yesterday, Jared. So I do think, you know, you need a horse that can stay out of trouble. If you're coming from the back, you're going to have a lot of traffic to get through. So stay out of traffic, keep up at the front, jump well, and get into a rhythm. Rhythm is so important here at the Galway Plate. So it's wide open. I'm looking at the odds here. That Maurice of Gordon Elliott was 6-1 at one stage, has now drifted to 9-1 in places. Pot Under Pressure 11-1. Ruby's moved at the times 12s. At Coney Island, a class horse in the day, 12-1. Snugs Verbenny ran well at the Irish National, 12-1. Black Horton over from England. Brian Frost riding for Paul Nichols. This horse won a Grade 8 chase at Kempton a few years ago, 14-1. Mangly Khan is a talented horse, but quirky, 14-1. Barra, 14-1. Atzuri and Ravenhill, 16-1. Peregrine Run, money for him into 16-1. Won his last 5 races. Will was pointing to his trainer there. Poker Party for Henry de Bromhead. Rachel Blackmore, 18-1. Only one lady rider has ever won the race 30 years ago, Sarah Cotton. We got Modus then, 20-1. So 20-1 bar those.
Yeah, it's a huge field, and a field that will be very familiar to people kind of who are even just casual racing fans. So it's not quite a stick a pin in it. Like, obviously Ruby has identified something. Have you a selection in this race, John?
Barra at 14-1 for a 50 the odds. The first 6 places with one bookmaker I've seen. Barra. I went to Rio a few years ago and I stayed in a place called Barra. But that's not the reason I'm tipping this horse in the Galway Plate at 7:20 this evening at Ballybrit. Barra should have won the Midlands National 12 days ago. This horse is a mare, fed at the last, race at the Mercy. Low weight, 10 stone 3. Mark Enright rode the winner for Gordon Elliott last year. Maybe his history can repeat itself. Same colours. They had Clarkham for Michael O'Leary last year. As I said, 10-3. She jumps well. She also ran well at Cheltenham a couple of years ago in the Carroll Cup, a fast finishing third behind Blueberry. So she has the ability to run well in big fields. Jumps well, big fields, low weight, 14-1. I like the sound of Barra. I don't think the ground will be an issue either.
Okay, so that's your selection for the plate. It's Barra at around about 14-1 at the moment. Obviously that price will move, as I'll have all of John's tips moved after he has tipped them. I just want to point that out. So if you want to get on that, you should get on it relatively early. Anything else for us today, John?
Oh, I'm just back to horse that Joe Schmidt owns called Cosmic Horizon. There's money for this. This horse has been backed this morning. I saw it being backed. Joseph O'Brien trains. We know how well Joseph's been doing all week. I backed him at 7s. This is in the 8 o'clock. A 1 mile flat handicap. Has been second, I think, his last 2 runs, Cosmic Horizon. Of course, we'd love to see. I think it's like a kind of a green and black split on the colours. So the kind of like the Kiwi and the Irish heritage of Joe Schmidt. So I'm looking here at the odds checker going in here 8 o'clock. Cosmic Horizon 6-1, 9-2 in places now. 9-2 from 7s. I'm saying nothing. All I'm saying is he's been backed. There's support for it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, Cosmic Horizon in Joe Schmidt's colours, trained by Joseph O'Brien, ridden by Gary Halpin, number 4 in the 8 o'clock this evening. I've seen Cosmic Horizon, I saw one of the races at Leopardstown. The night we were there, actually, he ran the night that Ozzy Valentine ran and finished second in the first race, I think, on the card that night. So look, if Joseph O'Brien's having that kind of a week, the World Cup is on the agenda. We've just been talking about it, so maybe it's all been...
I'm just checking here. Yeah, he's only won one race. And that was a year ago. So, look, I'm not saying... Look, it would be great for Joe Schmidt to win the Galway races. And hopefully, the horse will improve on the second race. Finished last time out.
What else have you got for us today, John?
Well, I mean, they're the 2 I'm tipping, and I'll put a blog here on offtheball.com, and we'll go through each race, and we'll see what's been moved. There are a lot of tricky races here. I'm looking through 14, 23, 22 runners, 21 runners, 22 in the Galway Plate, 13 runners. The first race, Dancing on My Own is odds on, so should win for Henry de Bromhead, Rachel Blackmore. There's a bit of money for Sky Marshall. Charles Burns had a horse around well yesterday. Sky Marshall into 9-1. That's in the 5:10. The 5:40, a handicap hurdle. Megalomaniac is the favourite. The money for 3 horses, I like the way you're thinking for Gavin Cromwell. Once again, had a second yesterday. Money for him, JB McManus colours into 6s. Castle North, money for that. Licklighter, money for that. That's in the 5:40. The 6:10, a mare's handicap hurdle. Enna Bai, the favourite, is drifting and negative for her, but there's money for about 5 or 6 horses. So Lonely, Berkassa, Lucky Phil, Miss Sassy, I Am Star 2, and Dangira. I will avoid like the plague that race. I'm not going near that one. The 6:45, Build Me Up Buttercup, was second at Ascot last time. Odds on for Patrick Mullins and Willie. That should win Build Me Up Buttercup. There's nothing really to go against it. We've talked about the plate. And the 8 o'clock, we've talked about Joe Schmidt's horse, although there is money for Tora and Shaman for Jessica Harrington. And the last race, money for 3 horses in the flat handicap. Conrun, Camlan, and Noble Expression at the outsider at 18-1 though. So, but I've spent €20 virtually this week so far. I've got €18.80. So we're face washing at the moment. We're not losing. We're not really winning. But we got Barra and we got Cosmic Horizon today.
All right. John, good stuff. Enjoy the rest of today.
All right, guys.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
That's John Duggan live from the Galmont Hotel. He's there all week broadcasting and giving us tips and details. But far more importantly, if you missed any of it, don't worry. You can get it all on offtheball.com a little bit later. Stephen Kelly is still with us. Stephen, I wanted to ask you a little bit about what you see the future for Troy Parrott. Obviously, We need a striker. We're kind of obsessed. Anybody shows any bit of form at the age of 15 or 16, we're like, get him in the team. But Troy Part's the real deal, right?
Yeah, I feel it's with Llorente going, there might be an opportunity for him to maybe get some game time this season. I'm hoping he does, and I'm hoping that Pochettino sees enough in him to push him into it. If it doesn't, I think a loan move. I think he needs to. Like, he's still very young, but at this level, at this stage, if he's that good and he's been seen as being around first team players a lot, then playing senior team football is only going to benefit him. So a loan move for him, I think, would really benefit him to go out and just play regular football at a decent level. The knocks and bumps you get with it, it's very different to playing 23s or underage. It's a complete change in what he'd be used to. So for him to develop as a player, if he's not going to get opportunities, which are probably going to be limited in the Spurs first team, a loan move for him would only benefit him. I went on loan when I was at Tottenham as a kid, and it literally stayed with me for the rest of my career. It helps you, it develops you. You go to places or clubs that do not have the same facilities that you're used to, and you realise how lucky you are to be at a big team, and it gives you a little bit more. Well, for me it did. It gave me the incentive to feel like I want to be at a big club. I want to stay here. I want to make sure that this is the team I'm at, because if I can't stay at this level for as long as I can, I want to be able to achieve it. So for him, a loan move I think would only benefit him, but it has to be a loan move where he's going to play. Yeah,
a couple of other players I want to talk about briefly. James McCarthy, there's some rumours that Palace had been interested in him in the past, and he was going to be a make-weight deal, part of the Zaha deal. Everton are saying that's not going to be the case, but he should move, right? He should get out of Everton now. And
Everton just seemed to be bringing in a lot of players as well, so his chances were limited last season. He's been so unfortunate with injuries, and he's come back for them, but he needs to play. He needs to get playing football regularly, and just to get his career back on track. I don't know what level he's going to be able to play at. You don't know. No one's really seen him since he's been injured, so you don't know what he's capable of. I'm sure he can get back to the levels he was before, but he needs to go to a team where he can play and play regularly. I think if he was to go to a side where he's going to be a bit part player or be on the fringes, I don't think that will suit him. He needs to play consistent football to get his levels back up to what we want and to benefit us as a nation, because when he's playing well, he's a very good player and he can really influence that midfield, which I think is an area we need to improve a bit.
Yeah, Robbie Brady, obviously, it's hard to know exactly where the current Ireland setup see Robbie's best position, because he hasn't really had an opportunity to strut his stuff properly yet. If he's not in Burnley's first 11, does he need to think about maybe a move back to the Championship?
Yeah, like I said, it's been difficult for him as well. Injuries have kind of hampered his progression at the club, and he's been in and out of the team. He's back fit now, and he's going to want to have a really good pre-season fitness-wise, show his levels he can perform at, push himself, and kind of show Dyche what he's capable of and that he's capable of being in that team. But if they are going to not come around, then it's difficult. The problem is now is the loan window. So if your deal isn't done, the loan window shuts for championship teams as well. So, which I don't agree with. I think this should still be open. I think players should still be able to get a loan from Premiership teams to championship teams. It just stops progression of players. I think it just hinders people. I don't think it's in any way benefiting the football, especially not for homegrown talent, which in England or Ireland. So I think that's only a bit. But for Robbie, if he's not playing, or I'm sure he's going to have. I would like to think he's going to have a candid conversation with the manager and say to him, am I in your plans? Am I going to be getting game time? Dyche will probably not want to let him go, because he's a dead ball specialist. He's great at putting, and they thrive on those situations. So he's probably not going to let him go.
Yeah, he's versatile as well. He can play a number of positions.
Play all over the pitch for him. So he's probably going to be wanting to hold on to him. But for Robbie, again, game time is important, and he's going to want to play.
Sheffield United obviously have a backbone of Irish players. It would be great to see them get into the Premier League, have a couple of seasons there, and have all of those Irish players play for them week in, week out.
It'd be fantastic, and for us going forward as a nation, getting players into the top flight of football is what we want, and there's been a bit of a drop on that of late. The last few seasons has not been as high a number of players playing at the highest level, and when they have played, they've been teetering around the bottom, and Sheffield United are going to be one of those teams. They're going to they could explode onto the scene and do extremely well, or else they're going to be fighting for relegation. I would say it's probably going to be the latter. But I'm actually really excited to see them, because the way they play, I'm not sure if you've seen United play much, but they play with a three at the back, but they're two centre backs bomb on almost like full backs. It's invigorating to watch, and when you see it happening, you're kind of thinking, God, it's just in the Premiership will that get absolutely punished?
It might do, but you hope they stick to it. And
I'd love to see them stick to it.
And they're involved in some 6-3s, 5-4s, and 7-2s, and maybe they'll win a couple of them.
It'd be great. It would be great to see, and like I said, stick with the philosophy that got them into the league. Stick with it. A lot of teams come into the Premiership and they just try and consolidate, get men behind the ball, and be hard to beat. And survival is all that matters at this stage, and if they can do it. But I'd love to see them stick with the philosophy that they had going into it and try and play the way they've played.
Yeah, no, for sure. Stephen, good stuff. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks very much.
A couple of things for you. We obviously have brilliant prizes up for grabs this week. There's a Wilson racket every morning, and the overall prize is a trip for two to Madrid for 2 nights with tickets to the Davis Cup semi-finals. It's all thanks to Tennis Ireland. Congratulations to Dan Morris, who correctly answered. Rafa Nadal has won 4 Davis Cup medals, while Federer, Djokovic and Murray just have 1 each. The AIG Irish Open Tennis Championship is running all this week out at Carrickmines Croquet and Lawn Tennis Club, with a host of international tennis players on show. Entry is free. Just check out tennisireland.ie for more info. We're going to leave you with this very special report this morning. Journalist Irvin Muchnick and the TD Maureen O'Sullivan met Owen last week to update us on George Gibney and his status in the US. Have a look.
Okay, so we're turning our attention back to the George Gibney story. George Gibney, of course, is the former Irish swimming coach who was accused of 27 counts of indecent assault and unlawful carnal knowledge. He did, though, escape conviction following a Supreme Court ruling in 1993. Shortly after that, George Gibney went to Scotland and then ultimately resided in the United States, where he still lives to this day. Adrian Barry is with us in studio, and this is something that journalists and politicians, indeed, over the last 20 plus years have been covering.
Yeah, and it's beginning to bubble up again, which is a very positive development for those who are looking to seek justice, obviously, around this. And it's been surprising maybe in some ways that it hasn't had more coverage over the years. It seems to have maybe slipped off the radar slightly, but Irvin Muchnick's been doing a lot of work on it to try and raise the profile of the case again, to try and raise it politically, obviously in the US. Clearly this meeting with Maureen O'Sullivan to try and raise it politically here as well. So I think for all of those involved in the case, we may be getting closer to some sort of justification in it.
Yeah, you mentioned Irvin Muchnick there. He, for anybody who doesn't know, is an investigative journalist based in the United States. He's written books on this. He's written 2 editions of his new book, The George Gibney Chronicles. We did have him on the show after he released the first edition of that book. You can catch that interview back in full if you want a bit more of the context around the United States on youtube.com/offtheball. But his new edition contains information about George Gibney, particularly details of the time spent by Gibney in Peru, which could have implications for his status in the United States. Now, Irvin Muchnick was in Dublin a couple of weeks ago. He met with TD Maureen O'Sullivan, as Adrian just mentioned there, and O'Sullivan obviously has raised previous concerns about Gibney in a series of Dáil questions. We spoke to the both of them after their meeting.
You're very welcome, folks. Thank you very much for your time. The first time the two of you have met, and I guess when you think about the relationship that the two of you have, it's all to do, unfortunately, with the story of George Gibney and what's happened over the last couple of years and the efforts to extradite. So you met today in government buildings. What was the nature of your meeting?
Well, I suppose really the fact that Irvin was coming to Ireland, it was an opportunity to meet face to face, because we've been emailing and in touch by email quite constantly over the past few years on the George Gibney case. So it's always very good to meet the person in face to face.
Is there anything in particular that you wanted to get off your chest, or any points that you wanted to stress today, Irvin?
Yes, Owen. It's first of all, it is just exciting to be in Ireland and to meet Maureen. But there's always old Gibney business and new Gibney business, and as we press, in this decades-long fight to get justice for his victims and accountability, I've always been focused on what new things we can find that are going to motivate the American government to do its part and help coordinate information with the Irish government and get Gibney extradited back for trial. And the new information that we have isn't just the kind of paperwork questions that Judge Breyer raised in my Freedom of Information Act case a couple of years ago, but new information about actual potentially nefarious activities that Gibney was involved in the United States in the late 1990s, when he was the head of a church group medical mission to Peru. And so I have new reporting that I believe, according to my government sources, federal agents are interested in about what happened in Peru with George Gibney, how he got there, what he did, whether it was with an Irish passport, This raises new substantive issues that could assist this two-continent campaign to bring a good resolution to the Gibney matter.
Right, so here is Irvin Muchnick's outline of the information that he's uncovered about George Gibney's trip to Peru. For legal reasons, we have removed the names of 2 specific groups mentioned in this segment. Let's talk about this new information then that's contained in the second edition of your book, which is available on Amazon, or at least will be available on Amazon soon. Irvin, what exactly have you discovered and how can this contribute?
Well, George Gibney had a resume when he was seeking jobs in Colorado after his swimming career ended in scandal after a very brief period of time of coaching in the Denver, Colorado area. He worked in human resources, and he in his resume, other parts of which have completely checked out. So I'm confident that this part of his resume is also accurate. He called himself the chairman of the, and he talked about the fact that he had gone with a church group from the Denver area down to Peru to work in a medical mission, which is problematic from both ends. It's problematic because he may have brought kids from his church in the Denver area with him on foreign travels. As we know from the Murphy report, he had a very authoritarian and a very abusive system with the swimming groups that he took abroad. So that's problematic on that, and it's also problematic because he was serving a vulnerable population of children in Peru. And we see also that he did other things. He volunteered for a children's mental health program in Denver. He worked on the board of a state college program for at-risk youth. So we see this pattern of Gibney compulsively and opportunistically getting into positions of authority where he could get close to young people who were ill-equipped to defend against his sexual predation. So knowing that it is almost certainly accurate that he did have this involvement in the Peru church mission, I looked into it a little more, canvassed all of the parishes in the Archdiocese of Denver, and learned a really amazing story about how Gibney's trip to Peru coincided with the time when a sect called, which was in Peru, was trying to make inroads in the United States. So there's a whole host of questions. I have never been big on emphasizing the Catholic Church aspect of the Gibney story, because I think it's more of a metaphor for the kind of institutional abuse that takes place across a lot of different platforms, religion, sports, and other areas. But it does seem that there is like real connections here that need to be pursued, and will bring out real new facts that can motivate the American government in a way that they haven't previously been motivated.
So Irvin there believes that this fresh information about Gibney travelling to Peru could have implications and open a possible door to extradition. Now, the other way that he may be extradited is through the uncovering of fresh information from individuals who have previously not come forward with allegations against a former swimming coach, and this is something that TD Maureen O'Sullivan spoke about. Are we in a situation now where, without that new information, the possible extradition of George Gibney is nigh on impossible?
Yeah, that's what I had been pursuing, and the various times that I have been on the media, I've been appealing to people who hadn't come forward in the past, that it's a different atmosphere today, there's more support today, victims who come forward are believed, in the hope that somebody would come forward who was abused by Gibney but who hadn't presented themselves before now. And, and very sadly that hasn't happened, and we can understand maybe people are trying to draw a line under it, or they don't want to go back into that horrible space, but that's the one chance that we would have. But the other really frustrating thing is that the reasons his case wasn't pursued back in the day would not stand up today. And I was just saying to Irvin that we're in a difficult time here. We have the information coming out about mother and baby homes, about Magdalen laundries, about industrial schools, and people in their 70s and 80s today are talking about things that happened them 40, 50, longer ago. And they're gradually getting justice. But those people who are abused by Gibney, they haven't had that justice. And some of them, I know, are suffering so badly today. And they suffer in various ways, but one of the most poignant ones I heard about was people who were fantastic swimmers, great potential, probably achieved a certain amount, had potential to do more, and now they can't get in the water.
So Maureen's message there, Adrian, is that, well, this is obviously a complicated process and there is no guarantee whatsoever that Gibney ever be extradited on this. One of the ways that could happen is through people coming forward with new information to the Gardaí.
Yeah, it's such an incredibly difficult ask, obviously, of people that, you can absolutely assume that people have dealt with this in the way that people deal with horror in their lives, that, for some people they will have dealt with it, you assume, and tried to put together some semblance of a life, I guess, post that. And you can absolutely assume as well that on the flip side of that, there's a whole range of people who have been affected by this and have not dealt with it at all. But certainly in terms of trying to advance the case from a legal perspective, that would be one of the most obvious ways, that if somebody was to come forward with new allegations. But yeah, what an incredibly difficult thing that must be to do.
We are going to leave you with this. It's the final word from Irvin Muchnick. Here he is discussing the implications that the Gibney case can have regardless of the ultimate outcome.
Irvin, just last word to you then. We spoke to you back in May and you said 2019 is going to be a big year for the case. Obviously the new information you've uncovered about Peru is what you've been talking about, I assume. What are you expecting next, or without obviously revealing too much, what are your plans next in terms of covering the story?
Well, I feel that that we have a roadmap now for everything. Everything in the toolbox is out there. U.S. federal government agents have more resources than I do to interview witnesses, to subpoena domestic sources, to reach out to foreign governments, and to coordinate and pull together the information. And the last thing I want to say, Owen, is this. This exercise is valuable beyond the justice that we can get for Gibney's victims. And we do want to get justice for Gibney's victims, although some of them actually are tired of the story and aren't sure that bringing him to the dock in Ireland is even going to make their lives better. So that part of it is complicated. But the part that we always have to remember is that this is about George Gibney world, is Irish swim world, it's American swim world, it's sports world, and it's calling to account the groups with government funding and with media backing and with popular culture enthusiasm draw young people into these programs when they're not protected. And we have to hold to account the institutions and the organizations that have enabled this type of behavior and make sure that it never happens again. And that is something that can happen regardless of what the outcome is for the crimes of George Gibney.
OTB AM.
Brought to you by Avantcard Reward Plus Credit Card. Powered by MasterCard. Straight up better than your current credit card. Avantcard DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Let's face it, the Irish summer has serious commitment issues. It's always late,